Hi, hello. We're going to be doing random stuff today, and I also have stuff to show you, so I'm getting things ready. I should have had it ready first, but oh well. Stare at the ceiling for a minute. Okay. I should see if this face recognition thing works for me, but so I just got back from the doctor, have to get my blood pressure checked, and I got the flu shot. I think my head looks better with a hat on. Okay, so right now we're gonna come over here because we're gonna be putting dishes away from dinner last night. I made a roast in the crock pot, and it was like so yummy. We'll fix it up there. I just got back from the doctor, so they gave me a shot for the flu. I live in San Francisco, and if you guys don't know about the China plague, that's what it's kind of called. Anyways, it was in San Francisco. It was a long time. It's gone or whatever, but there's a lot of other things that are in San Francisco that's kind of like, so whenever they offer me like the pneumonia shot, the flu shot, or any type of health care, I take it. So, yeah. Trying to make it to where not only do we have good lighting, but you can actually see what I'm doing. Maybe I should turn on this face recognition thing and see if it works. So I don't even have it charged. Oh, it is working. Yeah, so my face recognition stand is working. So it's this here. It's a tripod, right? And so it's this here, and I do have it in my showcase. So the reason why I didn't know if it was going to work is because I hadn't charged it in a really long time. So let's go back to that. All right, so let's see. Wait. I guess we'll find out if it needs to be charged. Yeah, I think it needs to be charged. I should charge it, huh? That would be fun. And she'll just follow me around everywhere. Let's try this one more time. Okay. Anyways, this is not charged. I got a lot of light over here, don't I? Let me see if I can turn that one light off. That light has so much. I can turn that one light off. That light has so much light. It's like one of those one lights that just kind of like drive you. Anyways, let's get going. Anyways, let's get going. I wasn't on live yesterday, so I'm trying to make up for it today. So I made a crock pot dish yesterday, and I have this in a link. You can tell I've used it a few times, but I don't know why it gets like that on the inside with some crock pots. Maybe because something spills in there and I don't get to it or something. I don't know what it is. Anyways, wish that light was brighter. So I got my California shirt on today because that's where I live. California. Go California! I know, there's a lot of rumors and comments about California, right? Just like there is about certain cultures and whatnot. But since I've been in California, I've had health insurance. I've been able to go to the doctor. I've been able to go to the dentist. I've been able to get healthy and stuff like that. I'm from Utah, and Utah really doesn't offer that kind of stuff. You really have to, either you're going to pay for your insurance, like, and it's expensive, or, you can go to the doctor, and I don't know how to say it, but since I've been here, I've really been taken care of health-wise. The doctors are smart, and they're nice, and they're educated, and I find it comfortable, and take this as racist or not, but it's not, but Asian people, the Chinese, the Asians, I feel comfortable with them working on me. I've never had a problem with them working on me in my entire life. I had a episode, hold on one moment. I had an episode with a white male doctor when I was when I was pregnant with one of my sons back in my days, I think it was, and that's the last time I went to him as a doctor, I believe. I'm not sure. I may have went. I don't know when it was. But anyways, when he was giving me a check down there, like in the, the vaginal area, he's not supposed to go any further than that. The little magic button. Well, he decided he was going to touch that. So ever since he did that, I never went back to see him. And I do remember my sister, she would go to him as well. We had the same doctor. And he would ask her, so when is your sister coming back in? She really needs to come back in and be seen, blah, 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 blah. And I didn't tell anybody, because I'd rather tell the world versus just a single person, because single people, individuals anyways, the ones that I've run into, they just kind of like, oh, she's probably lying. Ugh. So I'd rather just tell everybody. Yeah, my doctor that I gave birth through my sons, when he delivered my kids, he decided that he was going to touch the magic button. And we all know what the magic button is. And you don't touch the magic button when you go in to get checked to see if you're dilated or not. So anyways, that freaked me out from going to male doctors at all. And so now my family can see this and probably go, oh, that's why she didn't go back. Yeah, that's why I didn't go back. And I'm not going to embarrass myself and go in and try to sue them or anything like that, because there's all these people that are just sue happy. It was embarrassing to me, right? I don't want to be looked at as the girl who said this person did that, and then all they're going to do is gossip behind my back, and then to my face be all cool and stuff about it. So yeah, I've had experiences in my life that has been very uncomfortable, and what can I do about it? How am I supposed to prove it? But anyways, I have a female gynecologist up here in California, and I have other doctors. When they're doing stuff, around the areas and stuff like that, I usually want the female, and you should do that anyway, right? But yeah, that's my experience with the doctor that I was giving birth. My first birth, though, my first child, that birth, emergency C-section, right? So they didn't have time to put the epidural in me to numb me. So when they cut my son out of my stomach, I felt the cold blade. I felt the cuts. I felt the slicing. I felt the pressure. I felt everything. I was literally being cut open with no painkillers. And there was a male doctor that was there, and he kept pulling my shirt down, right? And my son's dad kept pulling the sheet back up, and I'm just freaking out. I'm out of it. I'm just like this. I couldn't even scream. I was in so much pain. But the doctor kept pulling it down, the male doctor, to expose my breast, right? And there was a ton of students in there. This was at the University Hospital in Salt Lake City, Utah. Yeah. And so it got to the point that my son's father fainted. He passed out in that labor delivery room because of all the stress. And I remember hearing what was going on. So it was very traumatic for everybody, especially me. You know what I'm saying? I could hear my mother's voice. I could hear my Aunt Charlene's voice. But yeah, he fainted. He passed out, and he was trying to cover up my breasts when they were. It was a very unpleasant situation. And yeah, I was 16 years old, but let's get to the story with that. And I never wanted to really tell this story because, and I don't know how this is going to affect my sons, and I don't want them to get upset and try to do anything harmful because it's, I don't know, it's just kind of one of those situations, and I don't want them thinking that they came from whatever. I was like 14 years old, and my brother was in Job Corps. My older brother was in Job Corps. Well, when they're in Job Corps, they get to have field trips, right? And so they had a field trip and it was called the 49th Street Galleria in Murray, Utah, which is in the Salt Lake City based area. And so we went there to see my brother. That's when we were all getting along. We were kids. My sister was 13 or 12 and a half at the time, right? I'm not even kidding. Could have been 13. All I know that these guys left on the bus after my sister met her first son's father there, and he was all of our friends. He was all of our friends, but we got close with him, and he was doing the bunny hop on roller skates because we went roller skating. You know how fun roller skating was. So it was a 49th Street Galleria, and there was this huge roller skating rink. So he was just really cool. I was pretty close with him, and we all kind of were. And they joked back and forth and called each other names, like my older brother and the Mel's, whatever. So I was like, the next time they came down, they ended up not going back. They went AWOL. And when they went AWOL, by their own choice, they decided that they were going to squat at my mother's house, which was also mine and my sister's and my little brother's house. And at the time, it was no longer my older brother's house because he was living in Job Corps. But anyways, they all came and just squatted at my mom's house. And I remember my mother, we didn't have a dad with us, so my mother would always say, get the hell out of my house. I don't want you here. Go back home. Go back. And they just wouldn't. They just bullied their way into the home. My mom did as much as she possibly could to make that not happen, okay? But my older brother, one of my older brothers, let's just say, he's very demanding. He's very dominant, whatever. So he doesn't listen to anything. I used to wake up all hours of the night and morning with him blasting the radio, playing Metallica, Anthrax, all that crazy stuff. He didn't give a shit who needed to sleep, including the neighbors. I mean, my mother went through getting phone calls, CPS, all that stuff. And this had to do a lot with my older brother and his activities and stuff. So anyways, they didn't leave the house. They just stayed, took over my mom's house and did what they wanted. Like they drank, okay. They did whatever it was. So some time went by. I was 15 and my sister was 14 because we're a year and a half apart. So she was either 13 and a half or 14 and I was like 15 and a half or something like that. I can't remember what it was. But anyways, the guy that ended up being my first son's father was like, I think he was 19 at the time. He's 4 years older than me. So 14, 15, 16, 17, 15, 16, 17, 18. He was 19. Okay, he was 19. And so that would have made my brother's a year and a half older than me. And then I think my sister's first son's dad was also the same age as my first son's and my third son's, right? So this is where it's going to get a little twisted. Okay. So I was never interested in drugs and alcohol, never been around it. My mom tried to raise us to where there's no drugs, there's no alcohol, we ain't doing any of that. I didn't even really like boys, right? I didn't like girls. I wasn't into that. I was young. I just wanted to do gymnastics. I wanted to just make sure my younger sister and my younger brother was okay, and help my mom out as much as I could and whatnot. So anyways, those guys started bringing alcohol around and whatever else. I have no idea. It was loud music. They took over my mom's basement. It was one of those, what are they called? It's not a rambler. It's an upstairs, split upstairs and downstairs, where you go up. The living room's here, the kitchen. The living room's here, the kitchen's in the back, and then there's the long hallway. And then there's the one that goes downstairs, and then there's like a full basement. I cannot be in those houses. I cannot live in those houses. If I'm near those houses, I have trauma that comes back to me. I said I will absolutely never live in a house like that again, ever. It was like, and that's not my mom's fault, but there are parts to it that will make you go, okay, well, I think it's everybody's fault and a little bit of mine because I was young, but because I was young, I'm going to say, no, it's not my fault. I was the good seed, and I still am. So with the alcohol coming into par, guess what else came? Sexual activities. Not only would my oldest son and third son's dad have sex with me, he would also call me the most ruthless names, and he would punch me. He would try to suffocate me with a pillow. I was so terrified. I didn't know what was going on because I was basically raised around that kind of chaos anyways, right? So I would see my cousins go through it, and it was just kind of normal to me. I didn't have anyone there to help me. I didn't have anyone to tell. I didn't have nothing. My brother thought it was funny. He didn't care. He just didn't know how to, I have no idea. He just didn't care. And then there was one time that I was in my room, my bedroom. It was upstairs, and the dad to my kids, right? He was in there trying to suffocate me with the pillow, and he was punching me, and I was screaming for help. And at that point, I could hear my brother trying to knock the door down, and he was pounding on the door, and he was like trying to get in. He was trying to open it up. He was trying to help me. And this is what I heard in the front room. Now, I don't know. And again, I'm 15 and this guy's 19 years old, right? My mom basically, I think, just gave up that they were there because there was nothing she could really do. And then when the father to my kids' mother and parents came to our door, she found out where we lived. We opened the door, and my mom was hoping she was coming to get her son, to get him out of her frickin' house. And you know what the mother said? She said, I was just smiling because I'm like friendly to everybody, you know, and I was like, oh, this is so-and-so's mom. And I thought she was maybe going to be nice, but she's like, my mom says, come on in, you know. She welcomed her in the house, and she says, I don't want nothing to do with this whorehouse. That's what she said. She called it a whorehouse, right? But yet, who was the one in there doing stuff that was over 18 to a girl that was under 18, which was 15 years old? Not only did he sexually assault me, he also beat me up all the time. And I couldn't leave the house. Nobody could talk to me. But anyways, when my older brother was trying to knock that door down, I could hear my mom in the other room, and she said my brother's name, and she says, "Will you just leave them alone?" And I was like, oh my God. That's when I felt like every time that guy hit me or abused me or did anything to me, that everyone else was doing it to me too. My mom, my brother, anyone that knew that he was abusive to me, that every time he did that, it was them doing it too. So I don't know if there's any other survivors out there that understand what I'm saying when I say that. But all this needs to come out, and I couldn't get this out to like police. I couldn't get it out to doctors. I couldn't get it out to counselors. I couldn't get it out to my family. I couldn't get it out to friends or acquaintances or boyfriends or husbands or ex-husbands or ex-boyfriends or even the one that I'm with now that I wholly trust. But I'm going to say it to you guys because I got this to back me up instead of me telling someone else and then them using that against me and making me a victim and using that as a weapon against me, because that's what happened. So then I ended up pregnant, right? My sister ended up pregnant because not only was I being messed with those boys, my sister was being messed with. Now, I don't know if they were boyfriend and girlfriend, but again, like I said, she's like 13, 14 years old. And the other one that was there who was 18, 19 years old, that is my nephew's, her first son's dad, you know, that was going on. So my mom would turn everything into, I'm going to lock them up, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I didn't really understand all that stuff, you know, because I just heard it so much through my life that I thought it was just one of those things, so I didn't really take anything too seriously. I'll call the cops and I'll get you locked up, and I'll call the cops and I'll get you locked up. Just the whole thing, you know. Just one of those things. So I seen what happened when my mom found out that my sister was pregnant at 13 or 14. So what my mom did is she tried to get the guy on statutory. Great, right? And I saw all the drama that was going on with that. And we were good kids. We had good hearts and stuff. I don't know for a fact, but from what I watched, it's that my sister was like saying, no, please don't, because she didn't want to like hurt anybody, you know, or anything. And then he was freaking out and just all sorts of stuff. But there was another episode that there was the other guy that was there, and his name was Chris. I can't remember his last name, but he was Native American or Hispanic or whatever. And he reminded us as Chavez. He kind of looks like Chavez, Lou Diamond Phillips, right? So I can't remember his name, but he ended up going into my sister's room too and taking advantage of her and essaying her, right? She did tell on him, and I think he ended up getting into trouble for it or whatever. Then my mom went on whatever it was. This is what just a long time ago that my mom, instead of getting him locked up, you know, she was like really just like whatever, like, are you gonna marry her? Are you gonna raise it? All this stuff, because my mom didn't want her to have an abortion or anything like that, you know. But I'm not really for sure, so I might be having some backlash on this and people coming and saying, that's not what happened, that's not what I said, and blah, 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 blah. But this is what I witnessed, and that's what I was putting together at the age of 15. And so I was like, I don't want this drama with me, so I hid my pregnancy. The whole time I hid my pregnancy, right? And I was like 6.5 months pregnant. 6 or 7 months pregnant. And the guy that got me pregnant, right? he's like outside because he got a car, and so now that he's got a car, he's going to be cruising around and doing whatever he does. It's like, whatever, it is what it is. I didn't understand what was going on. I just knew that there was these people that were there, and my life changed, our lives changed, and my mom totally lost control, and we were basically in danger, and there was nothing she could do about it. You know what I mean? Because what was she going to prove? She's going to get into trouble because they were all there, and she couldn't get them to leave. So how's she supposed to get the cops to believe her? Just the whole stuff. My mom was just like, oh, what do I do? And she's always working, so what really could she do? But it was hell growing up. In my teenage years, it was hell. So I go and I get in the car because he's like, ugh. So I go out there to the car, and I was like, oh, nice car, whatever, da 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 da. And so he wants me to, he's in the driver's side, so he wants me to sit on his lap facing him back to the steering wheel, right? And he ends up fucking taking his fist and punching me right in the stomach right here. Like, I think it was like 3 times he punched me, and I just went, oh, really loud to where the neighbors heard it. At that point, I knew what was going on. So he tried to unalive my firstborn while he was in my belly. And he was the one SAing me, so he should have been knowing that stuff like that. I didn't even like him. He wasn't even my type, But, there's like drunk, drinking alcohol and stuff like that kind of changes people's perceptions. But anyways, that happened to me there. He plays it off, and after that, I'm sorry, this and that, like he'd always do after he'd like throw shots at me and punches and whatnot. And I was just like, I'm just really scared. I can't tell my mom or anybody that I'm pregnant. I can't, it just is, I'm just like alone and all this stuff. So, because I didn't know how all that was going to go down. I didn't know what statutory was. I didn't know what any of that stuff was. So, and it really didn't dawn on me until like a couple months ago. I was like, oh my gosh. I looked back on that and I'm like, well, no wonder he denies to everybody. Like, those aren't my kids, and he's trying to get away, and he's running away, and he's doing all this stuff. And because he doesn't want people to know that he SA'd a girl underage. He doesn't want to be the bad person. And, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, I love my kids, and I wouldn't change having them for the world, right? The universe or anything like that. But then when I went in to have the baby, my oldest son, and they did that emergency C-section to where I didn't have any epidural, no painkillers or nothing. Got my mom screaming, saying, you're not putting those up my daughter, and putting those on my grandbaby's head. And because they were going to try to do the forceps, right? But it's because my uterus, or what is it called, my pelvic area is small, so none of my kids, I couldn't have natural birth or anything like that, vaginal birth with any of them. So after I went through all that and was basically sliced open, feeling the cold blade, the pressure, the pain, the shock, just, I felt even the blood coming out. I could feel it going down my back, like everything, like it was that fast. And then when they pulled my baby out, it felt like my lungs and my chest and my stomach just went, and it collapsed, and it just like, I felt like, it was just, oh my God, it was just so horrible. So then after I was all patched up and sewed up and stapled up and all that stuff, they decided they're going to take me down and see my baby, right? And I was like, oh, I want to see my baby. My baby, and I'm tiny. I was like a size 0, size 1, size 3, right? 5'3". And we go in there, and I put on a little weight, like 29 pounds, but then when the baby came out, he was 8 pounds, 7.5 ounces, and he was 21 inches long. She's like, which one do you think it is? And I just saw this beautiful baby. He was so cute. He had like chubby, rosy cheeks. He was just rosy, and his eyes were so big, and he was just staring at me. And I was like, there's no way it could be that one because he's so big. You know what I mean? He's so big. And so I was kind of still looking around, and he's just still staring at me, this little baby. And they took me over to this baby, and I was shocked that that was my baby. He was so big. And oh my gosh, I just fell in love with him, of course. And I was in love with him while he was in my belly, too. So, yeah, so they let me hold him. And because I was C-section and I had the staples and stuff, and they didn't want me to pressure all that, so they rolled the baby in, you know, and whatnot. And I'm not sure if it was the first time I held him. No, it wasn't the first time I held him because it was in the bedroom, in the bed or something like that. I can't remember if it was the first time, but it was one of the times that I held him in the hospital. And I was holding him like this, right? Just holding him like this, and I was sitting in the chair because I was cut open. And that guy, his father, fucking punched me in the chest so fucking hard that I dropped my arms and almost dropped my baby. Yeah, he just, boom, just hit me right here. And I didn't deserve any of that. You know what I'm saying? This is in the hospital. And that wasn't the only time he hit me in the hospital after I gave birth to my baby. The other time, but anyways, I, held him up and stuff, and I just looked at him like, there's nothing I can do. I can't fight back or anything like that. And then he didn't do it again. And then I don't know if it was the same day. I can't remember. But anyways, the other time, because we're only in there for like 3 days, right? So the other time he was in there with me and the baby, and I was holding my child while I was in bed. And in the bed, I was just holding him. And that son of a bitch and he weighed probably 200 and something pounds. He was muscle. He wrestled in school, right? And he's 6 foot, I think like 6'1" or something like that. He punched me with all his might in the side of my head, right in the temple. He hit me 5 times. All I seen was stars and light and blackness. Boom, 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 boom. And at that point, a nurse came in. So I don't know if it was just luck or if she was just coming in anyway, or if they heard what was going on. But they came in and they turned the light on, and normally they don't turn the light on. And she looked right at him and she said, "You need to leave and you're never going to come back here." And I just looked at her like, I don't really know what to do. I was just like shocked. I'm like, what makes people do that? I don't get it. I don't understand why people have to do that. But I believe in a strong thing of karma. And so of course so I get out of the hospital and he can't be around me or whatever. I don't even know where he's at. And my son was just always next to me. I just always protected him. I just always protected him, because if that dude's going to lay his hands on me and I can't get rid of him, and I couldn't get rid of him. Like, here's the crazy thing. When I would break up with him, the father to my kid, it's like my family would be his friend. And so he was going to be around anyway, so I couldn't get rid of him. He was coming around anyway. And so he even told me one time, he's like, if you ever got raped, I would beat the fuck right out of you. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh my God, what is wrong with this person? He is mental. And his mom's coming over to our house accusing us of being the wrong persons. No, what she's doing is allowing her POS son to take over some woman's house because she doesn't want him at her house. And he runs from Job Corps. You know what I mean? I didn't have a chance. I didn't stand a chance back then that day. So that was with them, and I put up with a lot of other shit with them. Well, some years go by, and I end up seeing somebody else, right? And that's where my second son comes into par. And he's a really nice guy, and he had his own things and stuff going on, you know. And we hooked up, and it was like once or twice, and I ended up pregnant, and I was like, oh gosh, like, doesn't this girl know about birth control? Yeah, I was on Depo. I was on the Depo shot. I didn't want to go through childbirth again after what I had just been through. Absolutely not. So me and my sister got on Depo, and it didn't work, obviously, because I was on Depo when that happened. So he didn't take advantage of me or anything. He was just a super nice guy. He worked all the time. He had a job that was long. Just a really nice guy, but like I said, he's a guy, so he's out doing stuff with his friends, and I'm not gonna, say what he was doing or anything. It's not my business, and I don't dislike him, so I'm not going to say anything about that. But what really the reason why it didn't work between me and him, and it was on my part, because he got an apartment, moved us in, all that stuff. But then my oldest son's dad, he would be outside our apartment. He found out where we lived, and he would just sit out front, out in the parking lot. And it really freaked me out. And so I thought, he's either going to hurt my son's dad, my second son's dad, or he's going to hurt both of us. And I think it's just safer if I just kind of like, started talking to my ex and being like nice. And he wasn't even my ex. He's just a person who was getting his way, being a bully, And then, and also because of the way my biological family is here on this planet, the drama, the slander, the games, head games, the mental games, just all that stuff. I didn't want him being around that. I didn't want to put him through that. I wanted to keep him away from my older brother. I wanted to keep him away from my mom, because she's, went through a lot of trauma, so she likes to blame people for things that they're just, sometimes she'll just say stuff that's just, she shouldn't say, But that's back when she was all protecting her kids and stuff. I just didn't want him around the drama. So I sacrificed that relationship to go back to the one that I was in danger with, right? Just so that he wouldn't have to go through that, and that my son would be able to have a safe place to go and whatnot. And my first son's dad was accepting the second child as an agenda, I believe. And then I started realizing that I just had to get away completely, like whatever. So I started exercising. And toning up my body and exercising and doing all that stuff, just bettering myself. And I had both my kids in the house, and we would play and this and that. And it went on for... Hold on, my manager's here. Coming. Hi.
Hi, sorry. The technician is going to be in the kitchen bathroom super quickly.
Okay. Come on in. You want me to leave this open?
I got it. Yeah. Also, he have to go to the bathroom. Nobody in the bathroom?
No, there's nobody in the bathroom.
Oh, good. Have you seen any cockroaches?
We haven't seen anything. The only thing we see are those fruit flies that drive us nuts. Oh yeah.
Try to avoid to have some water, in the sink or pots or whatever. And
Yeah.
fruit flies is just food or water.
It's the bananas, and so because I like to make banana bread, so if I don't get those bananas made into banana bread real quick, then we have those little flies everywhere. Well, then I'll make you some. It's really, really good. See you later. Thank you. Yeah, manager had to come in and do a pest check today. So where was I? So yeah, so I didn't want the, okay, so a couple of years go by. And my oldest son, he's probably, what was it, like 4 or something like that. And he's learning words from the adults, right? And so he walked over to his dad and he looked up at him and he was trying to say, I love you. But it came out as, I fuck you, right? That's what it sounded like. And wait a minute. This was actually when my son was older. I'm sorry, I gotta go back because I don't want to like get this wrong. So I think he was like, no wait, he was really, really young. Yeah, he was like maybe 6 or 5. I can't really remember how old he was. See, I try to remember the apartments or the places that we lived, and then I could remember like how old I was and then how old the other one was. So my son was born in 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93. So he was 6 when my second child was born. Okay. So then not even a year goes by because my second son was kind of walking around. So he was like 1.5. So my son was about 7 years old. That's what he was, 7 years old. So he went over to him and he went to say, I love you or something like that. And it came out like, fuck you, like that. And instead of his dad laughing, like he laughs with all of his friends when he says that word and stuff like that, you know what his dad did? He beat my oldest son up. I mean, literally got on his back and to where it was like, he was bent over this way with his head this way and he was over this way and he was just punching him. My son's friend, I came out with a broom, like a bat. I was like, fucking whack him. And I'm like, get off my son, all this stuff, whatever. And then he's such a dreadful freaking troll. So then his best friend that he went to school with, they wrestled together, lived upstairs, right? That's how they stayed connected. So he comes downstairs and he knocks on the door and he's out there. They're in wrestle mode. They're going to wrestle. And he's like, you don't put another hand on either one of these. He came down and he was just sick of it, because he could hear it from upstairs. It was like a fourplex. And he came downstairs. And then later on, after they were going to fight or whatever, they were like wrestled a little bit. They did the whole sumo wrestling thing. And then the friend went upstairs and he says, you know what? I ain't going to deal with it this way. There was another knock at the door a little bit later and there was cops and they had freaking guns pointed right at him. And they took him. And then I don't remember what happened after that, except I do believe that that's when me and my sister were talking about moving in, roommating together, and we did. So we roommated, and yeah, because it was at those apartments, that duplex that I ended up leaving, and then we moved into this this apartment, and we split the lease down, and we were roommating with each other, me and my sister, because we were trying to survive, basically, right? So I ended up moving in with my sister. And we like rented a place, and that's a whole different story there. And that's when she met her new man. And I could probably dive into it today just so I can get it out of the way since we're talking about it. And then it was like after that, I didn't really hear anything from my oldest son's dad, right? So, let me see if I can remember. Just so much went on. I'm going to save the next part for another time because it goes into some pretty wild information with some wild people that are pretty famous for their crimes in Salt Lake City. But they just so happened to be my younger brother's friends. So my youngest brother, who was beat up all the time by my older brother, he found some friends while he was in like foster care, right? Because that happened too. CPS finally just came over and took my mom's kids away. except my older brother, because he was in jail, he was causing so much problems. So my younger brother and my younger sister, which he was like probably in the supposed to be in the 7th grade, 6th grade, and my sister, I think she was in 7th grade, so one of that. So they ended up taking those two to foster care. I didn't go to foster care. When the lady came over, I remember her name was Suzanne Brown. I won't forget that name. When she came to the place to pick up, or whatever, she knocked on the door. I don't know if that's why she was there, was to pick them up or nothing. Okay. My mom says, if anyone knocks on that door, don't open it. And so guess what? Someone knocks on the door. And guess who goes running to the door because they're just so happy-go-lucky? My little brother. I was in the kitchen standing by the wall, right? And my mom went down and she's like, I told you don't open this door. But anyways, he opened the door and she was like, like she's trying to keep her kid. She's trying to like save herself. She wasn't doing nothing but going to work, trying to survive, raising 4 kids on her own. It's not her fault that my dad turned into doing, I think it was acid and LSD and then fucking up his mind. So he had to be put in a freaking care center at an early age. No, it's not her fault he did that. She got rid of him just so that we would be safe, right? So then I remember Suzanne Brown standing at the door. And my mom looked up at me and she said, I remember that. And so I hid behind the wall and I was watching. And I just remember my mom either started crying or started screaming like that. But I ended up not going to foster care because I hid. I hid. They couldn't find me. I hid. I didn't run away. I hid. I was like, I ain't going to any of those places. We don't need to go anywhere. Y'all just need to get this trouble out of my mom's house. And, with my older brother locked up, they were staying away. It wasn't my mom's fault. And my older brother, he grew up being treated really bad by the same people that treated us bad, which was my mom's brothers. Older brothers, and they treated her bad too. They were just mean. There was only one that was nice, and he was my favorite uncle, and he taught me how to do the timing ball. He taught me how to throw punches. His kids taught us a little bit of karate, They're like my favorite cousins. But his wife was a freaking crazy person. I think she was hopped up on that meth or something. Now that I'm older, I can see that, right? I look back and go, oh, that's probably what she was on, because, yeah, that person reminds me of that person reminds me of that person reminds me. I was like, it's because they were, So, yeah, that was scary. And then while we was in that new apartment, me and my sister, I was, like, hanging out with some other guy, and I really didn't like him either, but my sister wanted to like hang out with friends, and so I was like that person that was like, okay, I'll hang out with you guys and I'll pretend like I like this person because you want to hang out with this person, oh la-di-dum, blah blah blah, right? So yeah, that's how I ended up in most of my situations, just looking out for my sister. So years go by, a few years go by. We're gonna have to say it was about 94, 95. A couple years go by, and the dad to my first child decides that he wants to be nice and he wants to he has a gift for his son, and I can't remember what it was. Anyways, he came over, but somehow he was in, so he came over, and I think there was a tricycle there. So I don't remember if he brought the tricycle. I have a lot of brain damage because of being hit in the head so many times, lots of concussions from him, and a few others, right? Just because I'm cute, I'm a girl. Let's see. So he ended up over there. He was, I don't know, maybe he was invited by my brother. I have no idea, but he ended up there, you know. And I was like, oh, hey, what's up? Da, 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 da. You know, I was like, and he's like putting this, just being nice, you know, just hanging out, just being nice. Maybe he was trying to just just be nice. I don't know. So he's putting this tricycle together, right? This tricycle, and he's already got a new girlfriend, and I think they're living together or whatever. But he came all the way from like Harriman or something, or Magna, where his parents lived, and clear up to Murray. So that's about a 40-minute drive. If it's from Tooele, then that's more than an hour drive. But anyways, or wherever he came from, I don't know. But he was putting together this tricycle in the room. And it was in the kids' room because there was a bedroom here, a bedroom here, and a bedroom here. It was like a 3 like that. And I was in there, and he was talking to me, and he was like, so how are things going, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, things are going okay, you know, like, it's good to have, you know, my sister back as a roommate, and blah, 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 just talking. And I'm like in my 20s or something now. And I don't know how this happened. I just remember he was putting this tricycle together, and then it was quiet. Like, I don't know if they're like, let's leave them alone so that they could get reacquainted or work, you know, be friends again or something like that, right? And like, I really didn't even know why he showed up, because we weren't dating or nothing. He was just, maybe he came over to visit his son. I don't remember. But I do remember we had sex, and I don't remember how that started. But that's when I ended up pregnant with my third child. So he's my first kid's baby, and then I had another one with my second, because I was starting a new relationship with somebody else, and we were like working things out, blah blah blah. You know, relationships don't work, whatever. I was also young. There you go. So it would have been my third boy. So I ended up pregnant, right? And I told him that I was, and I was like, well, what do you want to do? And he's like, I want to keep it. And I was like, okay. I go, but remember before, I'm like, I can't have all that crazy stuff in my life. And you ladies and you men that have went through all this stuff too, you understand that it's just one of those situations that you just try to make things happen, you know, because I don't go out and meet a bunch of people. Who I know is who I know. I keep a very small circle. So he's holding my belly and everything. He's walking around in stores with me, you know, acting like we're a couple again and all that stuff. And just not being mean at all or anything like that. And then we find out that his girlfriend or wife or whatever she is, girlfriend at the time, she was also pregnant. So he had me pregnant and her pregnant at the same time. Yeah. I think they're a month apart. I think she had hers a month or two earlier than my son. So my son was born in October of 1995, and her daughter, which is their daughter, was born, I think, a couple months difference. Yeah. So, yeah. But he never wanted to deny my third son until I was in the hospital. And because I had got beaten up before in the hospital, and I never wanted any visitors or anybody. I just wanted to just be myself, right? Or myself. So my a-hole older brother finds out where I'm at, probably through my mom, my sister, his baby mama too, which was scandalous as well. But anyways, they come walking in, and guess who he has with him? The baby daddy father, him. And I would say his name, but I really don't want to say his name. Keith. Keith. So he walked in, he looked at the baby, and I'm sorry to my third son that you have to hear this, but just out of pure cruelty, my brother says, "I'm sorry, sis," right? Just out of pure cruelty, he looked at me and he says, "Don't give that baby my last name." And I said, "I wasn't planning on it anyway." I'm like, "You can leave now," because he didn't want his other baby mama that he had pregnant knowing that he got someone else pregnant while she was pregnant. And it just so happened to be the person that he was with when they started messing around. You know what I'm saying? So he tried to save his own self. So let me grab the charger. Like, I was so afraid of this guy. Because he'd been my abuser since I was like age 15, right? Like, abused me in every way possible. Every way. That he's like, "Don't dare come after me for child support either." You know what I mean? Like the whole child support thing. So I was scared to go for child support. And I was like, what do I do? And so I would have to tell, like, workforce services, you know, because I was working and stuff, and also I was collecting some food stamps and some Medicaid and WIC from the state, because I didn't have any help whatsoever, because this dude just totally just turned on me. Like, it was just weird. So, but it wasn't weird, but it was weird. So he just turned on me. So I was like, what do I do? And then, so I figured out that there was a system going. And I didn't have the system before. I wasn't getting help before. I was working at a burger joint. I was just doing a whole bunch of stuff. My sister, man, she got hooked up with a bunch of stuff. And, you know, she didn't even tell me how that even worked, you know. Like, she got on some kind of a housing plan at this housing place. But I had been so, like, my mind just went in survival mode for so many years. I didn't even know how to think to even survive, right? So anyways, I would just live with my sister a lot. We depended on each other a lot throughout life. Like, we were best friends. We were so close. Like we were like identical twins. That's how close we were. And, but before I ended up having that child, I was pregnant. And my sister knew I was pregnant. We was in that apartment. And we were only like a few months in, like maybe 4 months. She takes me over. She would always take me to her friends' places, right? And, darn it, I got to put this puzzle in. So my sister, she would take me everywhere with her, you know, like that she could. She would take me places. And she goes, "Do you want to go down to this place? Do you want to go down to this place, and this place?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And so I was pregnant at the time. And I didn't really tell anybody yet until a couple months later, because I wanted to make sure that I was going to stay pregnant before I told anybody, because people miscarry and, you know what I mean, stuff like that. So I didn't want to like say anything. And plus, drama, people like to have drama. And then not only that, they would have started drama with him, you know. And it's like, I don't need that. I don't need it. I got the plan. I'm going to do me and keep my baby safe. I don't want nobody to know nothing. So we go to this house that I've never known this place before, ever, at all. It's just a new place that we go to. And so we go there, and it's this guy that opens up the door. There's a ton of dirt bikes and a ton of like dirt bikes, motorcycles that are like in the garage and stuff like that. So we go to this place. He opens up the door. This guy opens up the door. And he's standing there, and he's like, "Hi," and he says her name, and then he's like, "Who's this?" And she goes, "Oh, this is my sister, da 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 da, blah blah blah." And I'm like, whose place is this? Like, who are you? And he's like, "Oh, hi," and he introduces himself. You know, he's like, "Oh, my name is blah blah blah." And so I didn't figure it out until after we left what was going on, right? because it wasn't like announced, but you're going to hear how it was announced. So we go in there, and of course they're like, oh, two cute girls. We're going to try to impress the new one that's just here. Like, everybody had a crush on me, you know. I don't know why, but they do. They just, or maybe they just, I don't know. They're like, I like your sister, whatever. But they don't say it, but they act it, right? So we go in there, and we're standing there, and this guy comes walking from somewhere in the house to the front door, and he's getting ready to leave. And so he starts to talk to the person that opened the door, or that my sister went to his house. And I'm just standing there, and I see my sister, and she's looking at this guy that's standing. Hold on. It should be charging. Yeah, it's charging. So she's looking at this guy up and down, and she's licking her teeth. I think she liked him. So she's standing there, and she couldn't take her eyes off this guy. Not the one that opened the door, the other one. So she's standing there, and she's just looking at him, and he's looking at her, like how she's looking at him. Not the one that opened the door, the other one. So she's standing there, and she's just looking at him, and he's looking at her, like how she's looking at him. He's like, look. Okay, maybe it's gonna do it now. It's the charging. Something's going on with the charging cord. There's nothing wrong with my charging cord. Maybe I didn't have plugged in all the way. So anyway, she's looking this guy up and down, and she's like, staring at him. She's like, I like you. And so he's like, hi, I'm blah, 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 blah. And she's like, I'm blah, blah, blah. So they, I think they liked each other, but I don't know if they got together right then and there or not. So we go there. So he's like, my sister's all, will you show my sister what you showed me last week or something like that? And he's like, I don't know. And he just looked at her like, what are you talking about? And she goes, it's okay. She won't. And he just looked at her like, what are you talking about? And she goes, it's okay. She won't say nothing. What is going on? Why isn't my phone charging? Charge. It keeps clicking up low battery or whatever. Maybe because the ghost in here doesn't want me telling the story yet. But I'm going to try to get it out. So, like, okay, I'm back. I'm on low battery surge now. I don't know what that means. But anyways, this is what happened. He's like, okay, well, we'll go ahead and show her, because they're just like, oh, you know, we showed her, and obviously she didn't say nothing, but she is saying something. So they walked us through the house, right? You know how guys, they want to like show off or whatever. So they walk us through the house, and he's got a brother back there, and the house smells like an armpit, you know, and back then I wasn't really knowledged in certain things, so it just kind of smells like an armpit or an onion or something. Just, it was off. So we go in, and they said, hey, this, and they're like, hey, and they said my sister's name and stuff like that. They were like buddies. Everybody in there was like buddies with her. And I was like, okay, I've never heard of these people before in my life. And they said, before we show you this, you have to promise not to tell anybody, because of who our uncle is, and we will get into really, really big trouble. And I was like, okay. And they said, well, he was a high up kind of an attorney, like he worked for like the district attorney's office or something like that, right? But anyways, that's how I found it. Like later on in the years, he was the district attorney. Like in 2020, he was the district attorney. But they said, we'll get into really big trouble, and it's like his sister's brother or something like that. So like they literally have Thanksgivings and stuff together. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to say anything. Who am I going to tell? I'm just there to see what you guys got, like monsters hidden behind the walls or whatever. They pulled the paneling off the wall, and inside the walls they were growing ganja, you know, Mary Jane. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, I'd never seen one of those plants before in my life. So I was like, okay. And so my sister, I guess she was going there to get Mary Jane, right? And I didn't know, or whatever else she was getting. I didn't see it or whatever. But anyways, so they showed us that that's what they were doing. And they were growing it inside the house. So you can't say anything. And I was like, I'm not going to say anything. Who am I going to tell? So we ended up going through, they showed me like a whole bunch of stuff, like the black lights and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that light's cool, you know, just stuff like that. It was like, that's like the lights in the clubs and stuff like that, you know. So anyways, we ended up leaving. And I think my sister got that guy's phone number, the one that she was licking her teeth looking at. Obviously she did, or she went back to that house and then that's where they hooked up. I'm not for sure. But, so their last names are Huber, okay? The Huber boys in Sandy, Utah. Yeah, for any of you that know, they were growing ganja inside the walls of their homes back in the 80s and early 90s and probably the late 90s and probably up till the time they got caught or busted, if they did. I don't know what happened to them. All I know is I looked them up in 2020 after their uncle gets on the news saying that we have a huge white supremacy problem and blah, 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 and this and that, and we need to put a stop to it, and we got to make sure that we da, 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 da. And I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. And I'm like, what? Wait, what? We don't. No, we don't. It's you guys want people to believe that, and I'll tell you why. Let's get back to this, right? The person that was one of the leaders of one of those that they call that gang, a prison gang, was actually coming to our apartment before he was a guerrilla convict, right? Because he was my younger brother's friend, the one that was protecting my younger brother, because my younger brother is only like 5 foot, like 4'11", and he was always getting beat up by my brother and stuff. So when he went to foster care, he ended up meeting these guys, and they took him on as family, and they were protecting him, and they were always respectful, always all that. They were just my brother's friends, right? I didn't know history on them or anything back in 1992, right? So they were hanging out at our apartment over there, and they were there a few times. I just remember seeing like tattoos, like this one tattoo really stuck out, and it was like of a goat and a pentagram. You know what I'm saying? I believe that's what I seen. Anyways, I thought the tattoos were cool. I don't know if that's what I seen, but I know that he has one of those tattoos now. So anyway, so I don't know. There's just a lot. I didn't really pay attention. I really didn't. I wasn't interested in anything except for going into my room, taking care of my kids, decorating my room, putting my headphones on, cleaning everything and making it smell like flowers, and singing out loud to Tori Amos. I'm not even kidding. That's what I did. So they were all hanging out there in like 1992, and my brother was there, and they would just come and hang out and whatever, and we just having a good old time. And I loved my little brother's company, and I loved my sister's company and stuff, and then their friends were just always funny and protective and stuff like that, so I didn't have any problems, right? Until, you know, that guy that does that, until one day, I didn't have a problem with him with my brother's friends, but with my sister's friends, those Huber boys. And she started dating that guy that she seen at the Huber brothers' house. And he started bringing the Huber brothers over. I think it was just the one. The one, he had like shaved sides, and he had like fucking really long hair or whatever. Just, they look like trolls. I am serious. Like trolls, like, you know, the trolls with the hair that look like that. That's what they look like. So I was like, no, I'm not dating that one for you, my sister. No, I don't want to. Well, he thinks you're cute. No, I'm not interested, you know. So I'm asleep in my room, and I swear to God I locked my door, because I always lock my door. And they're out there talking and whatever they're doing, my sister, and she's got her friends over, whatever, whoever else is out there. But I'm sleeping in my bed. I'm safe, right? I'm just cozy. I got through my day. I gotta roll over. Sitting next to me on my bed was one of the Huber brothers. I did not invite him in my room. I did not know he was in my room. I've never talked to him before or anything. He was laying next to me, just laying there next to me while I was sleeping. And I turned around and I looked at him and I said, "Who are you? And get the fucking hell out of my room." And he just kind of sat up and he left, he went out. And I'm like, what the hell was he thinking why would he just come into my private area, lay next to me on my bed while I'm sleeping? How freaking creepy is that? And those people my sister brought to that apartment, right? Now, I don't know if she knew what was going on or not. I don't know. But all I know is that dude, and I'm going to say his name, Brian Huber, was laying in my bed while I was sleeping. And I've never even talked to this dude before, except for I didn't even talk to him when they were showing me what they were growing inside the walls of their house, right? In Sandy, Utah. And I'm going to get him. Because I'm pissed that all this stuff happened to me, because it's given me a lot of trauma. And it's not fair. It's not fair that I have to go through this. Later on, following up to that, my younger brother's friends, the ones that were in DT, the ones that have had charges, the ones that were there being protective, the ones that have rumors of them being really, really bad people, they never, ever, ever disrespected me. Never, ever, ever did they do anything that made me feel unsafe or anything at all. So I'm doing my chores. I don't think I told anybody about that or not. I think they just all fucking knew or something. I don't know. I just know when that dude walked out the door, there was some laughing. Like, he giggling out there. And I just was like, oh my gosh, I gotta lay here asleep, like terrified, going, what the hell, you know? Ew. I wouldn't, so then I sit there and I look back, it's like, well, I do identify as Freya, and Freya did sleep with trolls, but maybe the rumor is that she let them sleep, or she slept. So I'm comparing my life to Freya's life because it's very, very similar, right? And I mean, right down to the Daisy, right to the what this other gang or whatever tribe did to my younger brothers, and my just the whole thing. Like, that's why I compare myself to make myself feel sane, right? Like, why is this happening to me? Why am I going through this? Who are these people? Why do they look like trolls? Like, why do I look like a goddess? Why do they look like trolls? I mean, look at me. I'm not trying to be arrogant or anything, but come on now. Like, what the heck? And so, this was another time that was there, and I think it was after. It was after. Yeah, it was after. And, so my younger brother and his friends, they were all friends, and they were like in cliques and like gangs and stuff like that, younger guys, they get into this stuff. I think they were just like, God, how old were they? I don't even know, maybe 20, maybe 18. It could have been 18, because the one ended up getting out of a detention center or something like that, and he ended up having to do some time for something that somebody would say was like really, really bad, right? And it is really, really bad, but it was two people that were in a dispute from the rumors that I've heard, and one survived and the other one didn't. So, and back in our days in our culture, man, the berserkers, they've been the Vikings, they fought until, and that's what happened. So anyways, he did his time, I believe, and he was like 18 and he got out, or maybe something like that. I don't know. I didn't know anything about him until after the fact. So anyway, I didn't know anything that was going on. But I do know he had tattoos and he was white, like pale white. And my brother was white, and we're pale white. Look at us, we're white. And so outside the apartments where we lived, there was some darker skinned, like much darker skinned colored individuals. And they tried jumping, pulling guns and all that stuff on my brother and friends and whatever, right? And this is the story that I got. So I'm just the big sister. I'm like, okay, they're just all young, and I'm like the big sister. So not young to where they're underage young. They're just whatever. So I've got Tori Amos singing my Tori Amos with my headphones in, cleaning like I always did, decorating, organizing stuff, just making things feel comfortable. And I said to them, because they were like sitting around and they're like, yeah, we should like open up a new group and blah, blah, blah. They're talking about a new group and how they're going to do stuff and whatnot. And, like talking about getting a group of friends together and this person, and this person. And I said, well, weren't you just jumped by a bunch of individuals like that? Like with the darker skin and stuff, and they're judging you, and they're doing it because they're judging you because of the color of your skin. I go, how unfair is that? I'm like, do they have anything like that in lockup? Did they have anything, or is it just all mixed? And they're like, it's just basically all mixed. Everybody's just, you just got whatever. And I was like, well, why don't you guys do something for your own race? Why don't you protect yourselves? Protect us. There ain't. I grew up and I was always bullied by the different cultures and stuff, and they always wanted to jump me and stuff, like in every freaking school. I'm not gonna lie about it. They wanted to jump me because of the color of my skin. I'm 54 years old right now, and all that started when I was it started at a very young age, like under 4th grade. Yeah. And it's just horrible, but then it just is what it is, right? So I never did anything. I'm a nice person, and they just always wanted to jump me, like just always. And it wasn't to jump me in. They wanted to jump me because I was quiet. I sat back. I was like a little blonde girl with blue eyes, and that just is what it is. And then today, as you're seeing it as today on social media, it's always been that way. You're just now seeing it. We are the hated race. Okay? We are. It just is. And those that say that we hate them, no, they hate themselves. But anyways, that's the way I see it. So I was like, I did my lecture. I'm like, why don't you just protect yourself? Just protect yourself. Just stop doing all this stuff, because with one comes another, and it's just chaos. So just protect yourselves and don't get into this huge thing of chaos and whatnot, and just go about your way and just live life and just be happy, And so I put my headphones back on, and I'm like, and I'm like singing, and I was in the other room, and my little brother comes in, and he says, hey, we're gonna like hang out and talk in here for a little bit. Do you want to come out here and talk with us, or do you want to just stay in here while we talk? Because if you want to come in and talk with us about it, then it's just like between us. So it's just us if you want to be a part of it. Or I don't know, I thought maybe they were going to play Ouija board or something, I don't know. And so I was like, I don't want to go sit and listen to your boy talk. And so I said, no, I'll just stay in here. So I shut the door, and I did what I said. And I says, well, I'm just listening to my radio anyways. Knock the door. When you guys are done, just open up the door. So I just remember, and I hope this doesn't get me in trouble, and I don't think it will. I just remember that my brother said that so-and-so likes your idea, and we're going to like try to figure something out about it. Do you want to come out here with us, or do you want to stay in here? If you stay in here, then stay in here. If you want to come out there, you can come out there. And I was like, I'll just stay in here. And I was like, so I was like, okay, we're all buddies, and they like me, and I'm protected, and I'm like all this stuff, and well, I'm like, like, not like I'm protected because I've like just joined anything or anything like that. It's just like I feel safe, you know what I mean? They're just being guys trying to figure out how they're gonna like protect themselves and do their talking and whatnot. And I was like, don't fight back. Don't go initiating anything, because they need to come to you first, because then it will be self-defense. So don't go out trying to cause any trouble with anybody ever. Like if they come at you, then they came at you, and you have the right to protect yourself. I'm teaching this to my younger brother and stuff now, because I grew up around we had a couple cool cousins, and they was in karate, and they would tell us stuff, teach us some moves and stuff like that. And they would say, if it ever came to just make sure it's self-defense. And then I would also listen to the older people talk, and then the movies that we were watching and stuff like that, right? And so it was that. And so I didn't know what happened after that, other than I came home one day, and I don't know if it was the next day, 2 days, or 3 days. And I'm not saying this because I'm mad at them anymore, or I want to get them in trouble. I want them to look bad or anything like that. Again, we were all young, But I noticed that my truck's missing. And I don't lend my truck to anybody, and nobody has a key. And I have my little white truck, my little, what was it? Nissan. Was it a Nissan? Nissan. It was a little truck that drove forever. It was just awesome, little white truck back in the 90s, little 90 something truck, little white truck. And it was missing. And so the first thing that I thought was, okay, who's also missing? My sister had a car, so that I helped her get. So I knew she didn't take my truck. Why would she? And then I was like, okay, well, my younger brother's gone, so I need to find out where he's at. So I went and I found his little black book. He had a little black book that had a bunch of phone numbers in it and names, right? So I called every single one of those numbers in the book, and a few of them I got a hold of. And I talked to him on the phone. And I said, hey, have you seen my brother? My truck's gone, and I need to know if he has it, because if he doesn't have it, I'm going to have to call it in stolen, because that's the only transportation I have. I have kids. I have to get them to school, and I need to get to work, and I need to get other things done. So I need my vehicle, and I have to be to work like tomorrow. And I wasn't into driving buses. There's no need for me anyways, because I have a vehicle, right? Every single one of them said, no, I haven't seen him. I said, okay, well, I'm pretty sure he has my truck, but I need to make sure. So I'm going to give it 1 hour. If I don't hear from him in 1 hour, I'm going to have to call it in stolen, right? So, and I don't want him getting into trouble if he has my truck. And plus, he didn't have a driver's license anyways, right? And so I didn't even know if he knew how to drive. So then I called other people, and I was like, hey, have you seen my truck? Have you seen, do you know what happened to my truck? My truck's not here, blah, blah, blah. So like everybody know on the street. I just told everybody on the street, keep a lookout for my truck. Because it had to have been someone I know, or if it's not someone I know, it's got to be in the area somewhere or whatever. Someone anyways, I says, I'm giving it an hour, and then I'm going to have to call the police, right? So my oldest son's father, the one I've been telling you about, his brother calls me and says, I found your truck. And I was like, you did? And then automatically what goes to my head, I'm thinking that his brother took it, because that's where I got the truck initially in the first place. I ended up getting it with him or whatever. So I thought, oh, what did he do? Come and take the truck back now? And he wants to start some job. The first thing that came to my mind was that, because the brother, and he says, it's a block over from my mom's house in Magna. And I said, okay. So the next thing I know, I have another voice on the phone, and he says, hello, ma'am, is this so-and-so and so? Do you own a so-and-so truck? And I was like, yeah, it was the police, right? I didn't call the police. So the police is on the phone, and they're like, yeah, is this your truck? And I says, yeah. And he says, did you lend it to anybody? And I said, no, I didn't, but I called around to all my younger brother's friends. He's got a book here with all their names in it to find out if he took my truck. And I was going to give him an hour to find out if he had my truck or not. He had my truck or not. And then I was going to call you guys on. He's like, well, you don't have to call us anymore because we're going to charge him anyway. And I was like, I really don't want to press charges or anything. I just need my truck back, and I didn't want all the drama. I didn't want the court. And he says, there's no choice. We can't make any exceptions. So what they found with my truck is that it was my younger brother. It was his friends that were in my apartment, that we gave him a place to stay and hang out and whatnot. And so they decided to pay me back for my kindness by taking my vehicle. They had little stinkers. I wish it wouldn't have went as far as it did. I didn't press any charges. They didn't even have to talk to me or anything like that, right? About anything other than to find out if I gave him permission to take the truck, and I didn't. So I'm not gonna lie about that, because I was looking for my truck. I wouldn't know where my truck was. So they had ripped my stereo out. They had taken everything out of there that was of value. Okay, they took the speakers out. They took my radio out. I think they took just whatever was in there out, the value. What was in my truck was sawed-off shotguns, methamphetamine, right? And I was like, I didn't even know what methamphetamine was. So when he told me, I thought it was just a pill. So it was like in my brother's pocket or something like this, but that's what they had, all of them together. That's just what it was. So it ended up going to court. They got locked up right away, and it ended up going to court. I didn't have to show up. I didn't have to talk to nobody or nothing. I didn't even know what was going on. I found out through my mom what happened. Other than I got my truck back, and it was just tore apart. It was just tore apart. I was just mad. It pissed me off. For me being so kind and giving them a place to stay, eat, sleep, hang out, do whatever, chill, whatever, they decide they're going to repay me for stealing my truck, stealing everything out of my truck, putting stuff in it that is way on top of being illegal, right? So it was like, God, I think it was like 4 years later or something. I just really didn't get into it. But my mom, she's like, yeah, they're going to end up getting 20 years. 20 years is what they got for stealing my truck. And it wasn't for stealing my truck. It's for what they had inside my truck and on them that got them the 20 years. I was like, oh my gosh, how is my younger brother going to survive? Like, in there. I was really, really sad, you know? But I didn't really know his friends very well, so I wasn't really sad for them, but for me, it threw me off guard, because I was like, I called every single one of his friends, and they said that they did not know where he was, and they haven't seen him or my truck. And one of the people that I had on the phone that I called back a couple of times saying, hey, have you seen my brother yet or anything like that? Have you had anything? No. It was at her house that they were at the whole time I was calling, talking to her. Have you seen him? She said no. So they were there doing everything that they were doing there, I guess. But that's where they found it, was at her house. So yeah, my brother was there, and they were doing all that stuff to my vehicle. But see, if she would have told on them, she would have probably got in a lot of trouble from them. So I understand why she didn't, now that I know what happened, right? So a couple years go by, and I'm dancing at this club. No, I'm not dancing at the club yet. I was still pregnant. So I was working the front door and cocktailing, but I was working the front door. So I was front door, like checking IDs and like security, front door security, stuff like that. And I was handing out and selling memberships to this club and stuff. And I walked to the bathroom, and I came back, and there's this tiny little petite girl and she's hanging upside down like Odin from the tree, right? Of Yggdrasil in the story. Hanging upside down, just like that. And so I went like this to her, and I was like, "Hi, what's your name?" And she's like, "Lady Ace." You know what I mean? She was just so adorable, tiny little cut body and stuff. Me and her ended up becoming really, really good friends. And then one day we went, she was like standing by the front door because she'd always come up and talk to me. And then I'd be talking to her in the booth and she'd be out front talking to me or whatever. And then I went outside and the door opened or something like that. And she says, "That truck looks familiar." And I was like, she goes, "Is that your truck?" And I says, "Yeah." And she's like, "Why does that truck look so familiar?" And I was like, "I don't know, probably because it's always parked out here." And then she says, "You're the sister. You're the sister." And I was like, "Of who?" You know, because I'm a sister. I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "You're the sister that owned the truck that my brother went to prison for." And I was like, "Wait a minute, like, who's your brother?" And I was like, "My brother went to prison too." And so I had to tell her exactly what happened. I'm like, "No, I called. That was me calling." And I don't know if it was her I was talking to on the phone or if it was someone else that I was talking to that was at her house that was saying no, they hadn't seen the truck, but it was her house I called. That's where they found the truck. And then she told me what happened, and I was like, "Oh, well, see, they didn't, nobody told me that they took it." And I called and called and called, and I gave an hour, and and I didn't call the police or anything, so, like, how would I be into trouble? They got themselves into trouble, you know? So, hey, you know, you shit in the hand that feeds you, and is kind to you and stuff like that, and then you repay them by doing stuff like that. I'm a young mother, single mom who is pregnant, you know what I'm saying? And they do something like that. So I was like, well, why would they get so many years, you know? I can't remember who told me, so I'm not going to say it was her, but somebody told me that their plan was with my truck is their plan was to go do a drive-by. Sorry guys if you see this, but this is just what someone told me. So I don't know if it's true. Allegedly, okay? They planned on going to do a drive-by at my oldest son's dad's house because of the way he treated me. So I was scared. I was terrified. I was like, wait, what? Like, I never gave anybody anything to, like, you know, like, yeah, he did things, but you don't need to be doing that. But anyways, that was the thing. It was like they were going to go do a drive-by at his house. Then they were going to take my truck way out west of Wendover and ditch it in the Great Salt Lake, somewhere up there. Past the Great Salt Lake, they were going to ditch it up there, way, way, way west of West Wendover, Nevada. And then, so I was like, so I was never going to get my truck back. And then someone's going to end up, something really, really bad would have happened with my truck, with my younger brother there. So why was this stuff in his pocket? Was my brother going to get set up? This is what I was thinking, because my little brother, he's vulnerable. He's special needs, okay? Like, he's got, his mind is like, because of all the abuse that he went through, he's really, really slow. He has learning disabilities and stuff. And he really is a really nice guy. But when he was on that poison, he did some really, really bad things. And me and him started, you know, arguing and fighting and stuff like that. And it was just really scary. He just turned into a monster when he was on that stuff. And then on alcohol, he's turned into a monster. But I still love him to this day. And it doesn't matter what his charges are, you know, or whatever. It's just a really sad situation. what he went through as a child, like, and it's everything that you can imagine possible. Yeah, that would screw somebody up. Yeah, that's it. But anyways, so that's what they had planned to do. So I'm not going to say it was her that told me that, because I don't know. I can't remember who told me that, because there was a lot of people coming in and out of her house, but I hadn't not yet been to her house yet, because my wallet, when I started dancing, because it was shortly after that I started to become a dancer at that club as well. It was a bikini bar. And they were making so much money, and I was being told that you'll make so much money so much faster, and you can work a lot less shifts if you just do that, and it's just in a bikini. So I was like, okay, then I gave it a try. And I was there for not very long time. Maybe it could have been a year or so, because that's how old my son was when I started hanging out at her house. And how that started, right, is my wallet ended up missing out of my dancer bag in the back room of this club that I was working at, right? And she was really the only person that I talked to. I had a phone number to, and I was communicating with her. And I said, my wallet's missing. I told the manager and stuff, and I was like, it's got like my ID, my social security number, all that stupid stuff that I shouldn't have in my ID, my wallet being left around. But again, it was like the early mid 90s. So, and you know, I'm young, dumb, and not really know how to do so. I should know better, but I didn't. I just trusted too many people, too much. So she ends up calling me one day, and she says, hey, I found your wallet, and I know who took it. So she told me who took it, but I don't know. Even then, I didn't believe that it was the person that she told me that took it, but it could have been. But really skeptical because of the whole situation with all of it anyways, and who I run into and who her relations and all this stuff is. But I I was kind of like, all right, I'll take the benefit of the doubt, and I'll be like, all right. And she's like, do you want to come to my house and get it? And I'm like, sure, I'll come to your house and get it. So I go drive up to her house, and she has my wallet and everything's in it except for the cash, right? So my social security number card was in there, my ID, and like my medical card and stuff, and all that stuff was in there, but just the cash wasn't in there. And I said, thank you very much. And she became a really good friend. While I was up there, I noticed a few things. I noticed that her husband wasn't treating her well, and she was being neglected on a lot of things, and she didn't have transportation, or did she have a driver's license. So she had a little baby. She had a kid there and stuff, and so she was around the same age as my son that I had. And so they became friends, and I started hanging out with her, and I would bring her milk, and I'd make sure that, like she got to the store and back, and brought her supplies and just stuff like that, because that's the kind of friend I am. Once you meet me, I'm family. I'm going to be there for you 100%. I'm loyal. I'm all that stuff. I'm not a saint, but I'm good people. So I just made sure that her kids mainly were taken care of, her kid at the time. And then there was other girls that were always hanging out there. And then they would bring their kids and stuff, but I was nice to their kids, but I didn't really involve myself, right? But my son was playing with her oldest daughter, and they were having fun, and I even have cute little pictures of them still to this day, hanging out. And then at one point in time, she said, hey, you remember my brother, the one that got locked up? There's a chance that you could talk with him about what happened. And you could explain to him that, you didn't call the police, and like all is just explained to him. And I says, okay. So I started writing him while he was in prison. Like not really a pen pal thing, just writing him. And I told him everything that happened. I said, hey, you guys were in there. You guys took my truck. You guys could have just asked me. I would have given you a ride if anything you needed or something like that. But to just take my truck, just lots of stuff. I was just like, I didn't call the police, not that I had to like say I didn't or not, or anything like that, because really I was a victim at that time and my truck was missing and they didn't tell me that they took it, and hell, my head was spinning, right? But I still gave him the hour because I wanted to give my brother the benefit of the doubt and have him like call me and I'd say, can you please bring my truck back and all that. But we're like back and forth, there'd be letters coming back and forth to her house, right? And we at the time became friends, right? Because we're like family. And it was like, oh, don't worry about it, this and that. So I was there one time and she's like, hey, do you want to come over? Because that's how I ended up being there this other time. She's like, hey, guess who's going to be here in like 20 minutes or something like that. Now is the time that you can come and talk to him in person, right? Me, as brave as I am, I'm like, okay, we're friends though, so whatever. It's like a brother. So I walk in, and the first thing he does is like, whoa, like he had seen a ghost or something. Maybe because I'm so white, I don't know. And he's like, whoa, 6'6", and then his friend's like 6'6", 6'7", and they were just complete sweethearts, just real nice and that, and just hey, just saying hello to everybody and whatnot, and whatever. So at one point I did get the chance to talk with them alone so that nobody could come around and, listen and make shit up or whatever. So I went, my friend said that we call each other sisters. She says, hey, so-and-so wants to talk to you. He's down in his room. And I was like, ooh, I really don't want to go into someone's room. And she's like, no, it's okay. He's not like that. He's not going to hurt you or anything like that. And I was like, he's been locked up for a couple of years. Does he have like a girlfriend or something or whatever? But he got married. Guess what? How he got married. Before he got out, I forgot this to tell you, because it happened a long time ago. So he got married and he was able to get out of prison. And you want to know why? Because I paid off the rest of his fine. It was like $200 and something for his license or something like that for him and this girl to get married. And so I was like, that would just be awesome. Yeah, I want to be a part of that. I think that'll be cool. So I think it was a money order that I had to mail in because they didn't do anything over the phone. I didn't have a debit card or something. I can't remember what it was. But I paid for the rest of his charges, which was like the rest of what he owed, just because I wanted to be nice and be like, I'm sorry this happened to you. And I also helped my brother out too. So don't think that I just went and helped this one out. And I felt kind of a little, not responsible, but just a little like, they witnessed the abuse that I went through and they heard the abuse that I went through with that guy. So they could have just thought, I'm going to just go kick this person's ass. But in their mind, they're thinking something crazy. But then again, that was allegedly on the story that I was told that that's what they were going to do. Thinking something crazy. But then again, that was allegedly on the story that I was told that that's what they were going to do with my vehicle. So I don't remember the person who told me that. I just remember that was told to me. I might not even have been looking at the person that was telling me that. I could have just been, someone told me that and I heard it or something, and then I just don't remember. So, but it was said. So then I was thinking, so anyways, I just helped him out. I was like, okay, well, I'll pay for this, and then so you can get out of and marry this girl. So that's what he did. So he was married, and he kind of went there because his wife was going to come and pick him up or something like that with his mom, right? So they were just kind of waiting for her to get there. So I went down there to chat with him, and I did. And he was a pure gentleman, He was just really nice, but he just didn't want me to turn the light on. Probably because I was told that he was a bit like shy or insecure or something, or maybe he just didn't want the light on. I don't know. So, but there was still a little bit of light that came through the door, so it wasn't completely black and dark. It just was dim, right? So we talked about it, and we just started talking about some other stuff like Like, like I just explained to him, like in person, that, I didn't mean to hurt anybody. It wasn't my fault. Like, did you guys mean to hurt me by taking my truck? Like, what? I didn't ask him what was going to happen with it or anything like that. I just says, don't you think that that's unfair to me to have that happen to me? And I am a woman, for one. I am a female, right? Regardless if I was a woman or not. I'm a mom. I'm a young mom. I'm a single mom. I am a sister to a family member. You guys stayed at our house. We had food there for you. We had a place to stay. It was a place for you guys to come in and be safe, hang out and all that stuff. And then to repay me by doing that, do you think that was okay? And he's like, no. And so he just kind of like kept me in there. And I was telling him about some other stuff, and he was telling me about some other stuff. And then it was like a long time, let's say, that we were down there, but we didn't do anything. We didn't he didn't make a pass at me. He didn't cheat on his wife. He didn't do anything like that. Okay. So, and I didn't do that anyways, because I didn't really know him, and I'm not going to do stuff like that just because I'm a sister. I'm not a predator. Would it be a predator, or would it have been because two people I don't know. Anyways, we didn't do anything. So anyway, everybody started to think that. But then there was some things that were spoken about and whatnot, and we found out that I was in danger by some other people, and it was by the same people that he was trying to keep away from, because they were trying to own him too. So there was this motorcycle people in the area, and they wanted him to join their crew, and he didn't want to. So he was avoiding them at all costs. But I told him about this girl that I've already spoken about the girl that was told by that Kim girl to go out to lunch with her, and then she went to lunch with her, and then she took her to this clubhouse, this biker clubhouse, and then just left her there. And the bikers that were in there, not that all bikers are like this, it was just them. They had raped and beat her with belts, broke her bones, gave her a bunch of STDs, including HIV. What else was it? Shot her up with a bunch of dope. And then they left her on the side of the road for dead, right? And she ended up telling on them. They all went down for it, to where, like, when they got out, I think they even changed the name of their MC. But then they were like looking for her and anything, but because I was being talked to and this girl was telling me stuff, I asked him if he knew the girl Kim. There's this girl Kim. She's really pale. She's got bottle red hair. This is what the girl told me. And he says, I know Kim. And then he says, okay, well, we're going to figure something out. So this is what we figured out in order to protect me, but also because he didn't want that happening to me, because I was a sister, So we decided that, and I'm going to let it all out right here. We decided to tell people that, because every time he was out, he was with my brother, and when my brother was always at my house. So it was just kind of easy. So we just kind of like made this thing to where my son, the one that's named and sounds pretty close to a name that I'm not even gonna bring it up, but anyways, we're just telling people that that's his son. So that's his son. But I was untouchable. I belonged to him, not like I belong to him like he's my master or he's my controller. Like, in other words, that I hands off, right? Just hands off. And so it'd be like, okay, why would it just be hands off? Because now you're married, and that girl's going to think that there's something else going on. And he's like, well, how old's your kid? Well, my one. And so it would have been the same time I got pregnant with my third child, my third son, was the time that he was hanging out, and when they took my truck. Okay, so it's easy to believe. So anyways, that's what we told people. And I never told anybody my son's real father's name to protect him, but I don't want to protect him anymore because he never protected me, right? He made myself a living hell, and why should I protect somebody who traumatized me, who SA'd me, who knocked me up, who beat me up in the hospital after I had the baby, who did that? His name is Keith. I'm not going to say his last name, but his name's Keith. So it's not the one that became a guerrilla convict. The one that became a guerrilla convict and ended up. So the 20 years that they did was because of the situation with my truck. Okay. So there was another incident, and these people were like, oh, okay, so they could point fingers at these guys, even though he has a heart of gold. He's a really good person, but he just makes mistakes because he protects people. He protects people, and sometimes people take advantage of that protection, and they'll start drama, and then things happen, and then that person goes and gets into trouble for it, right? Or they lie about something, or they exaggerate or fabricate something, you know what I'm saying? And that's basically what happened for most of the time, because I remember and I witnessed it a few times, and I says, no, that's not what happened. It's not really like this when you're not here, but when you're out and you're here, it's like this. So someone is telling them that you're out and that you're in these areas, and that's not me. So it's that person that you need to watch out for. And then also, when you guys go in and you get locked up and you brag and you tell like your buddies and stuff what you did and stuff like that, and even females, like the girls that you get together and your new girlfriends and stuff like that. I'm not saying that all of them do, but once you're in, you're not around, they're going to brag. They're going to get in their little groups and they're going to talk about it. And then that's going to get around. It's like, oh, this is because he did this or this and this, and it goes to the next person. So every one person that you tell something to, they tell 5 people. So then those 5 people are going to sell 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And those 25 people are going to tell 5 people. And then that's how it gets out there so fast. These rumors, and people are just like, you know, yeah, my brother's going to get out and he's going to do this to you. Just like my sister, they would, yeah, watch out for my, you know, yeah, my brother's going to get out and he's going to do this to you. Just like my sister, they would, yeah, watch out for my sister. So I would go around and these people would think that I'd be there to fight them, these girls. And it's like, I didn't know what was going on because nobody told me. But I'm looked at like I'm some kind of a fucking leader of a freaking cult or something. Which I am a leader of a coven, but that's on FB. But that's completely different. That's just my coven. So that's where I get the whole thing is Lady of the Slain, and I'm the leader of the Valkyries and whatnot, but I haven't recruited any Valkyries. So, not yet. And it's not a gang, it's the real thing. It's the gods, man. Like, I've died like a few times in this lifetime, and I'm still alive and kicking. I got slammed in November 27th, 2023 by some idiot in a Dodge Charger. Hits my shuttle, swings me around, breaks my bones on the left side, including hits my head there again. I'm still healing from the ribs, like this rib underneath my breast right here. It's still sore. I go like this, and I just barely, and it's all numb. I can just feel it go all through my back and down my skin. It's all numb, and it's from that. And 100% not my fault. Not that I wouldn't take blame, but it's 100% not my fault. And my attorney is heated, and he is at his wit's end with the company that we're suing in order to get me a settlement. And there's no reason why they shouldn't pay, because hey, it's not cool that they don't. Anyways, so that's the story with that. But the person who said to that girl, You're Mine, the one that I told you that got beat up, raped, and all that stuff, raped inside that clubhouse that she ended up telling on them, and they ended up going to prison for a really long time. And so, anyways, people seeing her talking to me. So, anyways, that Kim girl wants to turn into a bitch, which is the female dog, and she's like some kind of a gang member or something, and she's gonna come for me. I'm like, you wouldn't last. You wouldn't last. She wouldn't last with me. I mean, I see how she walks. I see how she stands. I see how she's just arrogant about it. Those are the type of people that get smashed that fast. I took a girl down. Not that I'm a badass, but I was up in St. George when I was married to my husband in like 2011. This is another story. And this girl, she was like all hopped up on some woo, and she was like there with her boyfriend. And my husband at the time, he was very arrogant, and he would always go get his guitar whenever a girl was around. He'd like play the guitar, and he could never finish a song. He would just be like, you know, just to show off, and like flip his hair and have his shirt kind of just ridiculous. It was just ugh. So, but anyways, this chick, she like seen a poster of me, and it was with a bunch of MMA fighters and ring girls, right? And I still have one of the posters, and it's just a whole bunch of different ones because I was involved with this, like, it was like a modeling agency, and then we ended up getting our own ring girls, and then we were like help promoting the fighters and just stuff like that in Salt Lake City, Utah. And but anyway, she saw that poster, right? And she's like, so do you think you could win me? And I says, I was a model. I'm not a fighter. Just because I'm in that poster doesn't make me a fighter. As you can see, I'm sitting on the steps right there, and even the ring girls are in the ring wearing their ring girl outfits, and the fighters are standing around, and I'm sitting because I'm the leader. I'm the lead girl, and you know what I mean. So I have the poster. I can post it up if you want to. Me too, and you can see it. It's, I don't know. We had a fun time, whatever. So anyway, she's like, she just started talking like in front of everybody in the backyard. And I don't know what it was that triggered me, but I was like, okay, do you want to wrestle? I go, I'm pretty good at wrestling. And she's like, wrestling? She's like, no, I want to do the stand-up. And I'm like, it's all, I go, stand up. I go, the fight always ends up on the ground anyway, so you want to stand up with me, because she takes a swing, all I'm going to do is fucking pull her down to the ground, and I'm going to freaking hold her down, right, because I know what I'm doing. And I go, do you want to wrestle? Is that what you want to do? And she's like, yeah, let's wrestle. Obviously, this girl didn't know how to wrestle, but she knew how to hold on. And she was like taller than me. She was like 5'8", maybe. She was a tall girl and bigger bone, and she was all hopped up on that crack. And so I was like, all right. And it's funny because nobody else there knew what was going on. They just seen that me and this two girls was talking. Me and that girl was talking. I think my oldest son was there. My third son was there. My mom might have even have been there. I don't know, because my older brother was there and his wife was there. I remember that because I remember they were all looking at me. And my husband at the time was there and her boyfriend. And all of a sudden they looked over at us, and the girl, she came at me, right? Like, she came at me like she was going to grab my neck or something, or she was going to like swing at me or something like that. And I just take all that swing. I says, okay, you're going to have to come at me first. And so she did, and she went to like swing at me. So I grabbed her hand and I pulled her down, and then I kicked her leg out of the way, and she ended up dropping to the ground because, you know, that's where you get him anyway. And so I got on top of her, and I was like holding her down, and she like wiggled around, and she's like wiggling and whatnot. And then she finally got me to where she had me down like this, but my arm right here was still free, right? And I was like, oh, so this is real? I thought we were just playing. And she was holding on for the life of her, because I don't know what she was holding on for. She just didn't want to let me up, probably because she thought I was going to like swing on her or something. So what I did is I used this right here, my forearm, and I had it pressed up against her. Okay, so she would have been laying down like this, and I had my forearm like this, so it would have been on this side. So I was like pressing on her face, right? And I was like, oh, this is real. So I was using my back and my shoulders. I was just using everything in my neck and just everything. And I was like holding her down until she finally gave up. And all I remember is I heard like my older brother's voice going, Sissy, what are you doing? And I'm like, not gonna go, oh, well, this is what's going on. So I just was like holding and holding. And I'm like, okay, in my mind, I'm like, okay, now everybody's watching. I'm not just gonna give up on this. I'm gonna make sure that this girl knows that she ain't coming back here and pulling this crap again. So I like just, all I did was just press this on her face. That's it. And she was pressing her face up against my arm. And then finally, I don't know how, maybe we were pulled apart. I don't remember what it was, but we got up. And I was like, well, that was fun. I go, but you didn't tell me that this was real. I thought we were just playing. And I says, I'm sorry about your face. She had a freaking red mark here to here, and it came down all the way to here, right? And it was because of my hand. They ended up leaving. I think at that point, my husband at the time, or my brother or something, kicked both her and her crackhead boyfriend out. And they left. And I would sit on the porch just because it was nice. So I would sit on the front porch, you know. And this chick came driving past our house one day. And I didn't know who it was until she drove by really slow, and I was like looking, and I don't know if it was my son that was sitting on the porch with me or who it was. And I looked up, and all I could see was this big shadow of this like bruise that was on this girl's face. It was like this, and she would drive really slow in front of the house, and she'd be going like this as she's driving, and she's just going like this, and I'm like, what in the heck is up with that chick? Does she like have a crush on me now? It was just so weird, dude. It was so weird. But anyways, that was fun for me. But yeah, I just laid pressure on her face just to push her away from me because I didn't know if she was coming in to bite me or not. And then what sucked is we was on the raw grass, and I could feel like a sprinkler head that was getting really close, and I didn't want to like really hurt her or hurt myself, you know what I'm saying? But they were like, what the hell's going on? I'm like, I don't know. She asked me if I wanted to wrestle because she saw the poster that I was in, and she wanted to fight me and play around, and I think she just really wanted to hug me or something. I think she just thought I was cute. Which a lot of that, I think that a lot of those guys that just see each other and they're like, hey, what's up? And they just start wrestling, and they're like, we'll make this look like a wrestle, but they're really just trying to like hug each other, you know? So yeah. Anyways, so there was this rumor that was going around that I had this husband that was in prison, and he's very dangerous and all this stuff. And everybody knew he was married, but everybody knew that when he was out, all those times he'd be where I was, and that's only because he was with my brother, and my brother was always there, and I really didn't even know him back then, so you can just lay off all that stuff. But it ended up turning into a really weird situation because that Kim and those girls were going around telling everybody about that, and I think she was jealous or something more than anything, and she would like tell people like in the circle, and it's weird because I didn't really connect the Kim with the Kim that was coming up to me for all those years, that was trying to be my friend all the time, being really nice to me. I'm like, why is this girl being nice to me? Nobody's ever nice to me. They usually just don't want to be around me. But then as the years go by, clear up to 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, when my brain could relax and think, because I don't have all this stuff going on in my mind other than COVID and survival, right? So my brain opened up, and I was like, oh my God, this is what's been going on this whole time. So 2020 came, and I saw that district attorney get on the news and say that. I was like, I'm putting this together. So he's saying this now. They're saying this now, and it just so happens that it's because this person is being released within the next few months. So what they're doing is they're pointing the finger at them again, so they're not looked at, because it was his nephews that was doing the drug pushing. Yeah, it was his nephews, that district attorney, Salt Lake City, Utah in 2020. I'm not going to say his name, but those nephews that I told you about, it was them. And so if he could keep pointing the finger at my little brother's friends and then putting white supremacists connected to it, that's going to scare people, right? And they're going to be like, oh no, we have a problem. Well, guess what? When I saw that, not only did I post up, I don't know if it's even up anymore or not, so don't go looking for it. Or you can. I posted up and I contacted somebody that I knew and I said, no, this is absolutely wrong. He is pointing fingers at them, making everybody sound like they need to be scared of them when all they're trying to do is just protect their own culture. And you can see why now. I mean, look at social media. We were just fucking smarter than everybody way back in the day because we knew and we know what's coming. You know, Norse pagans, people that wear the runes and they're white and they wear the runes. I have a tattoo of runes on the back of my neck right now, and I've had them since the early 2000s, like the late 1990s. And it's because it means the lady of the slain, Freya, leader of the Valkyries, goddess of love. It is a Norse goddess because those are my gods. Those are my deities that I work with. I'm not Christian, I'm pagan. They're Norse gods, they're Norse deities. It's Norse witchcraft, it's all that stuff. It's not Nazi stuff. And because people don't understand what those are, they're scared of it. And yeah, there's some people out there using the symbols the wrong way, but that's not me. But there's a very large, more of a majority that wear those and that, you know, say White Lives Matter and stuff like that. And we're not a hate group. We're just people that have our own gods and our own religion and our own ways of living. We celebrate Yule, which is December 20th, 21st. The 20th is like the Christmas Eve to Christians. So the Christians were granted the 25th of December for Christmas. And then the Eve, which is their, I guess, Mother's Night or whatever. But Yule has been around, which is their, I guess, Mother's Night or whatever. But Yule has been around a lot longer than Christianity, okay? So that's what we celebrate is Yule, right? We celebrate a star around Easter. We different, but it's pretty much the same thing. But what we do for gifts is we like to make things, but because of the way the world is now and everything's so busy, it's just easier to, and we live so far away, you know, through the mail system and stuff like that. We could either make something or we could buy something. But if we do buy something, it's got to do with, you know, like something to do with nature or healing, you know, like last year I gave like my son's girlfriends, you know, like necklaces that said Freya. You know, I have those. I got Freya necklaces. I'll show you one right here. I gave this to my man. I'll take you over to it. So I gave him all one of these. See Freya on there? He got the black one because he wanted the black one. My second son's girlfriend, which is his fiance, or I think they're married now, I'm not sure. But that's Freya right there. Okay, so it's Norse goddess. See, I did some modeling back in the day, right? And some modeling back in the day, because I did stuff like that, but that doesn't make me a bad person, you know? But yeah, it's Norse paganism. That's all it is. Do you see any Hitlers in here? See, when the gods came to me and talked to me about that stuff, and yeah, I talked to them. I talked to my deities. This is what I was told. Hitler was a politician, which was human. He made mistakes, but he had a purpose for whatever. I don't study him. I'm not into any of that whatsoever, but I'll listen to it just so that I can be observant to it, right? It's the gods, the Norse gods. They're the gods. He's not a god. He's a politician. He's not a god. So what people need to learn is about Norse gods, like if you're like this, it's the Norse gods that are your gods, okay? Does that make sense? Yeah. So if you're of the other culture, so see Jesus when he was supposed to come back, in that culture and in that day and stuff like that, he was to come back and save Israel, right? When did it become the entire world? Because everybody started to move in different places, right? So I don't know everything about that, but I do know a lot more than people think that I do about it. And the reason why I know about it is because you can't speak against it or speak with it unless you are knowledged in it, right? So it's like people will be like, he died for our sins. No, he died because of the sins or whatever that was back in those days, those people, kind of like the slaveries back in those days, those people, that's what they were doing back in those days, those people. It has nothing to do with us today. There's so many contradictions with the stories of that to where it makes it to where it's unbelievable because it doesn't make sense because they can't get their story straight. Because there's also another part to it to where it's like it wasn't even him that was up on the cross, it was one of his brothers. It was one of Jesus. It wasn't even him that was up on the cross, it was one of his brothers. It was one of Jesus's brothers that he called like his friends, his twins, which Thomas means twin. But there is a part that's also read that it wasn't even him, he got one of his lookalikes, right, and in for him while he did that, so that when he was because they look like for him, so that he could come back, they were to take his ear to his brother. I read that in a part of that. I read that in a part of that's concepts that even by humans. So many, if it was set in whatever, you know what I'm saying? So that's why they think, oh my gosh, it came back to one that was up there. That's why. If the story is true, I think, how she was still a virgin, and she was still a virgin and stuff. Those child, they would. The story of Moses, that culture, that they were often the same story as Moses. So why would it be different for him and it's not different from the other, right? Yeah. So I think the reason why that she was a virgin is because she wasn't really the mother. But then they said that she came there pregnant and gave birth, and then she was, yeah, so I don't know. I didn't get into too much of that. Now, I do respect the mothers of all the religions. I do study them, like Mary, like Hathor. I got them all up there, So I do study, and that's where you're going to find the connections to them. Like I've said this before, if you connect Thor's mom, right? She was a earth goddess. Not that she was planet Earth. She was an earth goddess. I am an earth goddess. I am an earth, like we're all goddesses, female, so don't be like, oh, she's not a goddess. Yeah, we are. We're all goddesses, you know. Not yet queens, right? So I forgot what I was saying. Oh my gosh. I hate when that, but I forgot what I was saying. Oh my gosh. I hate when that, but true. Yeah. I can't remember what I was saying. Forgot. I need some head. Lose my memory. So yeah. So anyways, I went and put all that together, and oh yeah. Okay, here we are. Got a sign. So I would be an earth, right? Gaia is the earth. Mom's name. Zeus's mom's name. Gaia. It sounds like it's like a Renee or something like that, but that's not what it is. Gaia. It sounds like it's like a Renee or something like that, but that's not what it is. And so her mother is also Odin would be Pa, yeah, like a step grandpa or something like that. It would be it's the name. Look up. So Odin is like grandpa. When you go in and you go equivalent to this person, right? If I go into like Mary doesn't connect with any of them, right? Unless you can find that she connects to him, and if she does, then let me know, and I can go in and be able to connect her. Because I thought, well, maybe she connected with Hathor, which is I've got some messages coming in. Is all of them are pretty much, they say that the male is and stuff like that, and that's where you just go back, and then you'll find the heritage to them all there. It's really interesting and stuff like that, and that's where you just go back, and then you'll find the heritage to them all there. It's really interesting really interesting that you can find on Google, but there's other places that you'll need to go in order, like those blue links that are in there when you're reading it. Click on those, and if you have a question, it'll pop up and come down, and look up. That's how you find the family tree of all them. So, but the ones that I get most is the Norse gods. So I wear the runes. I live by the runes. I protect my own race as well as I like to protect everybody if it's a child or a woman that's not a I protect my own race as well as I like to protect everybody if it's a child or a woman that's not a beastly thing that wants to just be harmful to other people. She's on her own, right? Me, it's like, like the elderly, the disabled, the ones that have special needs as well, and females and children. The disabled, the ones that have special needs as well, and females and children and animals, of course. Those are the ones, right? But when they get mad, they get hormones. Yeah. So it kind of makes me wonder when they're really being aggressive and stuff, and they want to fight some dude, and they're like, come here, and it's like, so it kind of makes me wonder when they're really being aggressive and stuff, and they want to fight some dude, and they're like, come here, and it's like, I'm sitting there watching sitting there watching like Scoops. I watch, of course, more TikTok and Instagram's not so much all that stuff, but you do find stuff on there. And just these people, a bad day and they're just aggressive, or they evaluated, or they drank too much, or and there's someone jumping for them. Now, they'd go in silent and then just if it's so and elevators not going down, and they're yelling and they're screaming. It's because they're weak. And they're yelling and they're screaming. It's because they're weak. I've ever screamed, or if it's like me and I've ever screamed, or if it's like me and one of my exes or something. Each other anyway, but there are some days that we get a little irritated, like everybody, and like the elevator's not working, or we're running late for something, or like irritating moments, like someone didn't get enough sleep, or just something like that. It's like irritating moments, like someone didn't get enough sleep, or just something like that. It's like just breathe and go through all of that around, just like, say it out loud when no one's around, around, just like, say it out loud when no one's around, just to get it out. Because really, like, words are spells, and you're just basically signing a contract with words are spells, and you're just basically signing a contract with them by the things that you're saying back and forth. Now, when I fight, they would usually, of course, push my buttons so far to where I would like have to say something, but it's usually because I was protecting like my child, or someone else that was around, you know what I mean? But as I was protecting like my child, or someone else that was around, you know what I mean? But I wasn't yelling as I was protecting like my child, or someone else that was around, you know what I mean? But I wasn't yelling. We have so much in common that we're best friends, we're friends, we love each other, we're family, we're the same culture, not meaning each other. We're family. We're the same culture, not meaning just the color. The color is we're pagans, and we both know God, know enough to be able to be like, we'll have a conversation about it, and then like if I pronounce something, I always thought that in her jars, it's actually in hair, yellow soldiers with the Valkyries blew you up because they come find you and they take you to Valhalla. So the Odin's soldiers, they're I thought they were in Herger, because I'm reading it and it's like ENHAHERJER or something. It's like ENHAHERJER or something like that. And so we got into this silly little thing last night, and he's like, no, it's in Harrier or something like Harry or something like that. And sounds like you're saying I'm Harry or I'm Harrier or something like that. That's what it sounds like he was saying. I'm like, no, I don't think Odin's like gonna name his soldiers I'm Harrier. But then when we looked it up, it was so funny. I was like, it's I'm Harrier. And I'm like, no. And so we looked it up. It's like I'm Harrier. And I'm like, no. And so we looked it up. And I got a video over on YouTube, and it's and Harrier, yeah. Anyways, that's the name of Odin's soldiers. Yar or Ur and Harrier, yeah. Anyways, that's the name of Odin's soldiers. That's funny. So those are the kind of little that for the typical we have like the wifey and husband, like, you know, stuff that everybody gets. Like sometimes it's not really jealousy, it's territory, and it's not territory because we own each other, it's territory because we're trying to protect each other, you know. So, but like me, I said I get on TikTok because I'm trying to grow a business on there. And if I send somebody a wave or something like that, I said I get on TikTok because I'm trying to grow a business on there. And if I send somebody a wave or something like that, it's just whatsoever. And so that's hard for someone. How am I going to say this? It's hard for someone who hasn't been part of this society for more than 20, 30 years. Okay. So of this society for more than 20, 30 years. Okay. So kind of coming around, and he was kind of like talking to him. I'm not doing this to joke around about him, but he's got a sense of humor. So does my son. But we was talking about gaming, and my son heard me. He's like 20-something years old, and he's like kind of like not listening, eavesdropping on our conversation, but he was like listening, right? And he's like, "What are you talking to, a fossil?" Because my man didn't understand the things that I was saying, but because he had service with the outside world for more than 30 years, he didn't know. Anyways, he got a second chance, and I'm his Valkyrie, and I am his wife in every lifetime. So I'm Val Freya, which it's his wife in every lifetime. So I'm Val Freya, which it's in a different duty. Okay, so when she's mother of Asgard, she's Frigga. And then when she is leading the Valkyries, she's Asgard, she's Frigga. And then when she is leading the Valkyries, she's Frey. And then she does love. And then when she's Valkyrie, her being a Valkyrie herself, she's Valfreya. And then she does love. And then when she's Valkyrie, her being a Valkyrie herself, she's Valfreya. Being that person, because I had not yet met this guy. But I knew him because I dream about him all the time. We was always dreaming. And it would be this person. When I was going to find him, I would be ending up in these places that echoed. And it was like a lot of cream colored, but it was like a rec center, but there wasn't like workout stuff. It was just like, it was weird. When I like a rec center, but there wasn't like workout stuff. It was just like, it was weird. When I try to find, I always have dreams and stuff like that. So I know I'm kind of your side real deep. But yeah, so I'm glad. And I had his yeah. And what I love is that he's a year older than me, which is perfect. So he might be 11 months older than me, because he makes me feel young. And I'm young anyways. But yeah. So when you hear certain rumors about me, So when you hear certain rumors about me, to come with me, here in FEC, nothing about my Vegas visitor. I've got one of these in my showcase, Vegvisor. And he got me this. It's an 03 and it's got the runes on it. Can you see it? And then he gave me this one. So I wore this also. It's got the runes on it. Can you see it? And then he gave me this one. So I wore this also on my ring finger. And then this one here. Find this also in my yeah, but I part of that. And they were actually pointing at my part of that. And they were actually pointing at my brother's friends too. My brother's friends. He has youths that live in Sandy, and they've been doing this since the 80s, because I couldn't let them have to go through this all over again when it's really somebody else that's doing it, right? It's just not fair. Like, these people have a chance to live their life out here when the other people, they've just lived too much, because lived too many of the life out here, and they weren't even appreciative of it, or the people that were around. They were just putting bad names on everyone else. Well, it wasn't even 2 weeks that that district attorney put in his resignation, and he was never heard from again. So there's that. And when I go to where I'm going, I just travel all the realms. So I'm just here to see, because I'm the owl. I just travel all the realms. So I'm just here to see, because I'm the owl. Where I see the shipsies, they start to fix it. And way back in 2001, when I watched the Twin Towers fall that day, you know, the Twin Towers fall that day, you know, I also watched The Apprentice. I said to the person that I was with, I'm president and he'll be able to fix all this. It would just be a good, and that person's like, he'd never get even nominated, blah 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 blah. It was a fun. Look where he's at and look what he's done so far. So you guys are gonna keep hating on him when all he's doing is bringing peace. Thank you for hearing the gods, because they've been calling for you for some time. But it's not until it's the right moment that it happens. So everything happens for a reason when it happens. And look what happened. It's awesome. But first, we had to have the real villains show themselves. You know, like... But first, we had to have the real villains show themselves. You know, like... They're going to keep robbing. They're going to keep showing themselves. They're going to post themselves doing stuff. Games and doing themselves back into history. A lot more than a mile. And they're all proud of it too. They're like, yeah, we did this, 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 and this. And they're really loud. So what are they doing? They're telling on themselves. They're doing this, this, and this, and they're really loud. So what are they doing? They're telling on themselves. They're doing it, showing what they're really, really. That's what it says. Let them do what they want to do. Know what they really want to do. So if you're with somebody saying, hey, I don't like it when you do this, 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 or this, and then finally, so if you're with somebody saying, hey, I don't like it when you do this, 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 or this, and then finally you just give up. Let them do what they want to do. That way you can see what they'd rather do. I mean, it's painful. It's painful sometimes, but at least you can get out and get away and get it handled before it gets too bad, you know. So, out and get away and get it handled before it gets too bad, you know. So, and think about it. He comes back and he looks the way he was. Are you going to recognize him? Do you really think you'd recognize him? Or do you think he's going to come back the way that he was painted to be, to look like, right? So, what if he did? Guess what's going to happen? You know, the whole saying is find Jesus. That came from back in the day when he was seen. And they said, we need to find Jesus so that when they get him again, they can hang him up and string him up again. There ain't none of you suckers that are out there. All you want Jesus for is to save your asses. You don't want him to kick back and smoke bud with you, or watch a TV or a movie show, or even show him your favorite board game. You don't want that. Which mine's Ouija. You don't want that. You want to ask him why he wasn't there for this, why he was, and then it's just going to be like. So think of it as a reality if he really did come back, and what people would do if he did. Do you think he wants to come back? It is a reality if he really did come back, and what people would do if he did. Do you think he wants to come back to? In the minds of what people think, that he's coming back to save everybody. Why is it responsible for him to save when it's you're the one who's making any sense? That's lazy. That's so lazy, and it's self. He's probably right now. He might even be alive, going, yeah, woo. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think he's doing that. Because he's perfect, right? No, I'm just kidding. I don't think he's doing that. Because he's perfect, right? No, he's what people have put in your minds that he is, and what you've put in your mind that he is. And he looks like the way people put in your mind that he looks like, and that you've put in your mind that he looks like. So nobody really knows. But again, I'm not Christian, but I'll tell you what, I would shake his hand and be like, really? And he's probably just laughing his ass off going, oh my God, what was my dad thinking? But in my culture, in my belief, the Son of Light, his name is Balder. His name is B-A-L-D-R, Balder. And a lot of people think that it would be Thor, right? Maybe, maybe not. But the God of light, the Son of Light in Norse mythology and Norse paganism, his name is Balder. So that would be like my Jesus, if there's a Jesus in my culture, right? Because the stories are the same. Basically, they're very similar with just different names to them. But you can look at people and be like, they're definitely from this God. They look alike. They're the same color. Them, they're definitely from that culture. They look alike. They're the same color. And it does have a lot to do with shade. Mine are the Norse gods. Yours might be Christianity, which is fine. You might even be Jewish. I don't know. It's still fine. Maybe a Muslim. Maybe you're Islamic. That's fine. That's you. That's what's in your mind. That's what's programmed. That's what's in your soul. But that don't mean it has to be in everybody else's soul. It definitely isn't going to be into mine. But that doesn't make you wrong. But it's your culture. That's your gods, your culture. I have a different culture. I have my own gods in my own culture. And it's not Jesus. And they're not evil. And it doesn't make them evil because it's not what you're used to hearing about. Because, man, I'd rather be best friends with the goddess Freya than being best friends with some person that I don't even know. You know what I'm saying? Like me and Goddess Freya, we have similar, I was born in April, so my planet is Venus. So she's a Vanir. That's Venus, right? It's Venus, it's Vanir. So is Thor. My flower, my birth flower of the month and all that is the daisy. Now, if you're going to summon Freya, a daisy would be her flower. Okay, the ladybug, I always played with ladybugs when I was little. They're my favorite bug. And she's also with the ladybug. But then also, it's also ladybug. I always played with ladybugs when I was little. They're my favorite bug. And she's also with the ladybug. But then also, it's also Mary is also a ladybug too. Okay. Then there's butterflies. I was always intrigued with butterflies too. The butterflies. I use butterflies. So that would be one of Freya's symbol too. I always say honey. I love to eat honey. I was raised on eating honey and not sugar. My mother would give us honey and not sugar. So that's another thing that is equivalent to the goddess Freya with me. What else is there? My oldest son, my firstborn, was object. And an Asgard. So my oldest son, I call him Balder, right? I call him Balder. And then I have my second born, I call him Hermod. It's Hamdor, or if that's how it's pronounced, Hermod, the messenger of the Norse gods. It's Hamdor, or if that's how it's pronounced, Hermod, the messenger of the Norse gods. It's Hamdor, or if that's how it's pronounced, Hermod, the messenger of the Norse gods. And then my third is, I call him Thor, because he's a October baby, and he's a Libra, but he's a Venus baby. So he's a Vanir, he grew up with his dad, and I didn't really have anything in control of that, but I haven't really figured his out, other than there is a frost giant that is the equivalent of the Noah and the Noah's Ark stories and stuff like that, right? And when I was pregnant with him, right before I was giving birth, we was going over through some names, and one of the names was Noah, and I asked my belly with my one son that I call Thor, and I said, which name do you like? And then as soon as I said that name, I got a little cramp in my belly and my water broke. So that's why we named him Noah. And his crib and his bedroom was all Noah stuff, and his toys was the Noah's Ark. And that was back when I was still just hosh-poshing, putting, both things together, because his dad's family is Christian, right? So I'm not going to take my children away from something 100% and bring it over on me if I'm sharing a co-parenting with another person. So that's got to be on both sides so they can learn both sides, right? It's kind of like your mom speaks a different language and your father speaks a different language. Are you going to learn both, or are you just going to learn one so you can only understand one? Well, why not learn both? Because you're both those things. So you just balance it out and make it work, right? So just because I'm a Norse pagan and I believe in all that stuff doesn't mean that I have to exclude a family member because they're Christian or anything like that, or I don't respect, and be like, okay, well, they celebrate Christmas. So when they receive gifts, it's going to be around the 25th or the 24th, right? But in my culture, it's like, but anyways, it's a lot of adjusting. And some people are just so Christian or like so Mormon or whatever that they think that anything that's not is like evil, right? Or it's not true or believable. But that's just kind of like being, well, that means that other cultures don't speak a different language, that they're just speaking gibberish because they're not speaking your language. So don't hate a person because they're a certain religion, because they could be a good person, but it's like, try to teach them what yours is about. And if they're not interested, they're not interested. But it's like, if you want to be their friend or whatever, just learn a little bit more of what they're going through, or just don't even get into the mix of it. But with me, I have studied enough to know that which side I choose and where I'm going, right? Because there's like 10 realms. The 10th realm is heaven. And the rest of them, there's the 9 realms, which Midgard is here. And I believe the Christian hell is also on this planet as well. The rest of them, there's the 9 realms, which Midgard is here. And I believe the Christian hell is also on this planet as well. These wars and children's, and also that's the hell part. Programming, your drink, right? And it's like what's programming in you is what I have a lot of psychic dreams. I have a lot of astral traveling dreams. I have a lot of that kind of stuff because I'm trying to be vain. I'm just trying to make sure the lighting's okay. But I don't know everything, but what I do know, I like to share. And it might sound like I'm rambling on, but I do know a lot about a lot of things, and I've experienced a lot in my days. And I've really had to come to myself and say, you're going to be the one that's protecting you. Because if you can't trust anyone else to protect you, you got to be the one to protect you. Right? And so I would always talk to myself in the mirror, like I'm kind of doing right now. I'm talking to people that are in here, except all I see is my face. So I'm basically talking to me, through me, to whoever's listening, right? I don't know. So I need to put this up here. But yeah, and more and more and more and more and more and more I share, or I search, or I just hang out, I meet more people like me. And it's on social media is where they've been found. And I think that's awesome. Yeah, but I'm definitely not on social media to find love or to date or flirt or be promiscuous or anything like that, because I'm in the relationship that I want to be with the person that I want to be with. And so that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I want to get TikTok paid and FB paid and Instagram paid. And because I want to meet people that are like me and maybe help somebody that needs to be helped. And because my kids are in a different state, and when it's my time to go, hasta la vista to a different realm, then those that are here on this planet still in this lifetime can always look back at these videos and see me, which I wish I had of my firstborn, my son, when he graduated this lifetime and went to Asgard, the one I call Boulder. He was 25, 39 minutes into Christian Christmas Day, and on 2012. Yeah, so December 25th, 2012, 39 minutes into the 25th, is when he perished, and he went over to Asgard. And before we cremated him, we went, we gave him his clothes and everything, and our hugs, and I kissed him on the forehead, and I whispered in his ear like Odin did Balder, but I didn't know that Odin did this to Balder until I read it like several years later, and then I was like, hey, I did that to my son. And what I said to my son is maybe the same thing that Odin said to Balder, that nobody knows what it was. But I mean, it could be, it could not be, but things happen to me in the same things, that because they're telling me something. But I told him that I love you and I forgive you. And the forgiving part is, throughout our lifetimes, we get into conflicts and confrontations with the people that we love. So it's not like I was saying, I forgive you for a certain thing that he did that we were holding on to. It was anything that wouldn't let his soul pass over that he would be holding on to. I wanted him to know that I forgave him and that I love him for anything. I don't want anyone that I love or that loves me to have to ponder after death, if that the spirit does, and that's why they hang on and they don't leave and go to the light, because they have bearings and stuff they have to keep haunting people on down here. I just really wanted him to know that before we had him put in the cremation thing, which is a great thing because I don't live in Utah anymore, and if I had him buried in Utah, I would think that I would have to stay in Utah. But because we have him in ashes and we have him in an urn, that we can go anywhere, and he's going to be with us anyways, but still it's just better that way. And he said that he doesn't want bugs crawling on him in the afterlife, so he agreed to the cremation. Now I want to be cremated too, and I don't want someone to say, oh well, she's my daughter or she's this person, so we're going to bury her. No, my wishes is to be cremated. So, and I would love to be cremated on a boat, and then just like the Vikings, like Lagertha or whatever. That'd be awesome. Oh, I'm gonna wash the top of that fridge. I'm gonna wash the top of that fridge. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm gonna wash the top of that fridge. I'm gonna wash the top of that fridge. So, do you guys know about this product here? This is like my favorite cleaning. It smells good too. So, Odoban eliminates odors, disinfectant, lavender, and it kills 99.99% of all germs. And you could spray it around food, not like you should, but you could. And it it won't poison you. So I'm a little shorty torty. So my man got me this. It's a little ladder. Because I'm not that short. But yeah, so then I go up here. I don't want that. These are freaking annoying. These are annoying. They're always in my way. I'm gonna clean the top with the Audubon. I'm just hanging out today. Gotta clean the fridge too. I should have some music on, huh? Hold on. But if I have music on and I like show you a product, it might conflict, and then they'll mute my thing. So let's just put nature on in the background again. My cat's just chilling today. So anybody else on here want to get TikTok paid? Well, you give me a daily heart me, please, guys. Come on. Just kidding. Something went wrong. Like, what could go wrong? Like, are you serious? Oh my gosh. You know, those people that like talk like that. You know that they don't really talk like that, but they do talk like that. Oh my gosh. What happened? Let's start all over. Setup connection, wireless. I don't know why it always does this. I don't know why it always does this. Oh, honey. Maybe my honey forgot to pay the bill. I don't see his name. No. I don't know what's going on here. And I don't have any radio. Yep, I don't have a radio, so we're just gonna have to just do that. Ole! It's that creatine. You guys familiar with this creatine? My man takes this stuff. I still haven't figured out how to mirror my I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Here is my snout. Tip me over and pour me out. Yeah. I haven't had one of these today. Delicious. I'm working out, just messing around. It's hard for me to lift my arm over here. I got my probiotics. This is so good. I got my probiotics. This is so good. Okay, I just got a phone call from my man, so that's why it's skipping out. Now we have these. We don't really use them right now. So, I wonder where I should put them. So much stuff collecting on the fridge. It's annoying. It's annoying. It's annoying. So he wants something light for dinner. So I don't really have to. He's coming home early because it's raining. All right, so I'm gonna take my ladder and put it back. The monkey in the dell, the monkey in the dell, hi ho the dairy-o, the monkey in the dell. Okay. So what we're gonna do, I am going to clean out the fridge. Because I told my man I was going to. So it's time to clean out the fridge. Time to clean out the fridge. Time to clean out. Time to clean out. Time to clean out the fridge. Got leftovers in here we never got to. That's from last night, so that's fine. you can use this stuff to clean out the fridge. Wipe it down and it's not gonna hurt anything. It's just onion peelings. Let's put some Dawn in there. Move, babe. Move, babe. Move, baby. Move, baby. Mommy needs you to move. What's up, Doc? All right. Need to put this cheese Ziploc baggies. Oh shit, ow, that hurt. Ah, got my finger. Got my finger. Ah. Hurts, man. Hurts. Hurts. Come on. Come on, kitty. Come on, kitty, meow. Get out. Meow. Meow. Get out, meow. Don't eat that. We do need that though. We do need that. And all this shit here, we don't need that. I'll ask him. My banana bread recipe. Wash the dishes. You can watch me wash the dishes. Watch me wash the dishes, yeah. It's not the best freaking. Not the best. Isn't the best though, right? That stuff there. It's called Clean As You Go, you know. It's all the leftovers in the fridge. say there was like one pork chop that we didn't get back to. But it's got a life on it, so you don't want to leave anything like that in the fridge, like cooked 3 days or raw 3 days without cooking it. 3 days after cooking and 3 days before cooking. I used to work in a deli, and that's an annoying toy, so we're just going to toss it. And I learned a lot working in the deli. I just wish the manager was nicer. She had anger issues, high blood pressure. She wasn't getting it taken care of. She wasn't taking her meds right. She told me. She's like, I just don't like them. And she's just mean. And it's like, well, then go and, you know, I wanted to say go and tell your doctor to give you some different meds, but if I was to do that, I'd get into trouble. So I'm not supposed to talk about people's meds, you know. It's like, people have rights, but they don't have rights. They don't have rights on the same things that they're told that they have rights to. So, we're all slaves who think we're free. And it's like the more money you make them, which is in taxes or whatever, or work, then you don't get bothered, right? But if you don't, then that master, which is, what was his name, Uncle Sam? That would be the slave owner these days. And we're all the slaves. We're all Uncle Sam slaves. And we call him Uncle, don't we? Uncle. Just like we did back in the day. It's even got a name. And it's Sam. You know? So I hope that Governor Gavin Newsom's ready to pay us all out, because that's reparations on all slaves, not just one. You can't just choose one, because we are all slaves. So he's definitely buying votes. Definitely. And what's funny is, because of the way they've been acting, those potential voters, is it shows that they're ignorant, that they're really falling for this shit. But I guess every penny counts, right? But they haven't said how much they're going to be paying out, right? So are we counting back in the day when it was only like 15 cents, was like, you could buy stuff for 15 cents back in those days that would cost $1.50 or something these days? So are we going to go back to how much the money was worth back in those days as well, if we're paying for, do you understand what I'm saying? So Gavin Newsom, California governor, he signed slave reparations for the slaves' descendants from the people that were slaved. And how are we supposed to know that they were slaved and who they were slaved by, right? And it was their culture anyways that was selling them off. But with that being said, what is the amount? So like I said, back in those days, so what about the housing that they were given and the food that they were given, and you know, like, and us when we were there, you know, I don't know, because we weren't there, but what I'm talking about is reparations. So it should go that back in those days, what was the penny on the dollar worth? So what would their pay have been back in those days? And is that the amount that they're going to be getting paid? Or is it the dollar amounts that we're making these days? That just shows how ignorant and how uneducated that governor is and those accepting that deal. Because they should be saying, but they're being selfish right now, that every culture, and to this day, we still pick cotton, and it's every culture picks cotton. So if you get a bottle of Tylenol, before you can reach the pill, you have to pick that cotton out of that bottle. That's kind of smart-assy though, right? But no, I mean, they need to do their research, because there was other cultures and not just their culture that was out there in the fields doing the same thing. So they weren't the only ones that were slaves. And we need to have some educated leaders. I mean, I'm a leader, but I'm the leader of the Valkyries. And I don't deal with that stuff. I just see things that's going on, and like I said, it gets sent back to the mothership. And then they're like, oh, okay. We've got the owl down there, and this is what she just seen. Let's go through it. And boom, they just shoot it, and Trump's, and he's like, ta-da! And this light bulb comes up above him like that, you see. And then he's like, okay, we're going to do it this way. And then the trolls are like, kill the gods, kill the gods, kill the gods. And the gods are like going, silence, ye shall not pass. But that's them trying to silence everybody. But they were in office, the Dems were in office, and they showed us what they were about. And they proved that they can't be trusted in office. So, you know. Alright, I gotta clean the kitty litter real quick. No, you can't watch me do that. Hi. I need to clean the kitty litter real fast, but no, you can't watch me do that. You can stare at Freya, the Norse goddess. Okay, dude, I gotta get this cleaned up. And you are not gonna help, because every time you help, you flick kitty litter at me, because you grab it with your paw. We got that kitty litter that bulks up and gets hard, and it's flushable. So. away from it. This is the highlight of my day. Living in poo-poo land. Living in poo-poo land. Poo-poo kitty land. Take their poo-poo and we plant it in the ocean. Then it makes catfish. Right? No. No, you don't need help with your paws. You don't need your help. Thank you. You're such a good helper, though. I mean, you do try. You do a good job. So cute. He's my cutie pie. Oh my god, he's so cute. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh. Bending over that gets my back, babe. My back is wounded. Can't do certain things because I'm wounded. Move. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Over there. Let's move this back over here. Dad's on his way. I need to get this out of the way. I want to get through the shower. Woo! Oh, Lord of mercy. Great Lord of mercy. Lord on fire. Alright, we got it here. We got it here. Alright, I got that handled. Oh my gosh, that can be so annoying at times. Because he likes to get his little paws in there and help me out. Alright, so I'm going to show you what I got in the mail. Hey, I have two of those. Where's the other one? Okay. I got one braid in today. But this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna show you which let's see, push down a little further like this. I'm gonna show you which let's see, push down a little further like this. Will that work? Does that work? My hair's a little off today. It still looks cute. Okay. So, where's my glasses? Where are my glasses? Here they are. Don't I sound just so attractive? I'm like breathing like Eeyore Igor or something, like, okay. Okay, so let's start with this. So samples from TikTok Shop that I've just received. I gotta get that hair out of my eye, sorry. So samples from TikTok Shop that I've just received. I gotta get that hair out of my eye, sorry. And it is strawberry flavor, and it is good. See, look, these are honey sticks. This is how they come, right here, right? And he wants to join in. He wants to do the smell test. Do the smell test. Do the smell test. He does the smell test. What is it? Is it good? Is it good? Oh, it's that good. He's gonna take some. You see that? He's my little helper. So this is a honey stick, right? And it's Better Alt, and this is a brand I work with a lot. So it opens like this. Voila, and it can just sit there. And then it closes like that, and it just stays in the container. So this is strawberry, right? But it comes as a duo, a set, right? And I pulled one out because I want one of the strawberries. Look at the one it comes with, right? And I pulled one out because I want one of the strawberries. Look at the one it comes with. It's also in a shorter container, which doesn't mean it's still the same size. But look, it's pepper mango. That means it's spicy honey. My honey had one of the flavor left. And strawberry. This is a big thick rip that off. Look at that. Strawberry. So resin, right? Your energy. Just switch it until it's gone. And that one's the strawberry one. And then I'm gonna show you this one, but I'm not gonna eat. It does have the wire underneath of it. I'll have it because ASI. Okay, there's that one. I'll find the link to each one of the bras so that you can get the exact. I'll find the link to each one of the bras so that you can get the exact one that wire. And I'm yet to get one of those, but I will. It will give me one. So no. Oh. So this comes in to Dill here, okay? And because they're so see-through, and because I promised my man I'm not going to try on lingerie on TikTok for the whole world to see, because that's only for him and me and my guardians, right? My invisible guardians and the spirits that haunt me. So this one is got the thick here, right? And it's covered, and they don't have padding in them, which is fine. But, you know, you're gonna go bing and look like you're back in the 60s wearing the one bra. So there's this one. So it goes like this. And like I said, these ones are to fit me because they sampled them to me, but I cannot try them on I mean, I can try them on if I had like a skin suit on or something like that. But I'll tell you what, if you would have caught me back in my younger days when I wasn't in a relationship, I probably would have. And then I would have got banned. Bananaed, that's what they're saying, right? Bananaed, and it comes wrapped in this, and it also comes wrapped in this handsome little box here, and it's a HSIA, right? So there's those bras, and if you are, there's those bras, and if you are a TikTok, if you are a TikTok shop affiliate, right, and give you examples. Link up that's going to be in this video. Inside the box, right? And then I went even further in here, and it's got like ingredient guide, and it's got like ingredient guide and all that. It's got a whole bunch of little things in there. I know I'm saying it. I'm saying a lot of words that we should guide and all that. It's got a whole bunch of little things in there. I know I'm saying it. I'm saying a lot of words that we should filter words. But look, it comes all pretty. It's got like this in it and stuff. It looks really pretty, right? It's all pretty. So Meaningful Beauty, Cindy Crawford. Yeah, so I got this, and it comes with this here. And this says Meaningful Beauty. So it's Meaningful Beauty, Cindy Crawford. Ultra lifting and filling. I will let you know. I will let you know. But how about how it goes? I will let you know. But how about how it goes? This, right? I'm gonna just put a little picture. How about we do this? That. Ooh, that smells pretty. You know what? It smells like expensive, elegant. I'm just gonna put it on for perfume. So you smell very rich and beautiful, if that's what you're going for. But oh, that smells pretty. And then it comes with, these two came together, right? And they got those cool little lids. So it's the Cindy Crawford Meaningful Beauty. So again, if you are a TikTok affiliate and you want to try this stuff out and you want to send them in a sample, let's put it here. You want to get a sample from them, they'll send you a sample. That smells like you know what it smells like? It's a really cute smell. Remember back when we were kids and then we got our own little perfumes? Like, it was like our own little makeups and the perfumes, and it smelled like just a little bit like perfume, but you knew that it wasn't harmful. That's what that smells like. It smells very gentle. So let's see what this does. Isn't that groovy looking? It's got that orange and white in there. Meaningful Beauty, Cindy Crawford, Crème de Sérum. So I would think that would be French. Okay, so this is a serum. It smells like Christmas. Like you get something from like Christmas, right? And it comes in this beautiful packaging. I love it. So we're going to close this up. So we're going to shut this closed. And I'm going to have a link. I'll have a link in this video. All right. There you go. Meaningful Cindy Crawford serum and filler. I'm excited. I'm so excited. So excited. I believe that that might be all I have to show today in my life. But there is stuff down in the parcel that I didn't pick up. You know what's nice? Is I could really feel that. Look. It's like kind of sticky, but it's not sticky to where it's like candy sticky. Look. That's that serum. Oh, that's a cute little smell. Like cute, but it's pretty. That's what I have to share today, and my man's on his way home, so I gotta cook him some dinner. So I should probably go now. But yeah, check that out. And all the other products that I have on my page, and I'm gonna clip the conversation that we had today, and I'm gonna post it on my wall. And I hope that it helped others today, and I'm gonna post it on my wall. And I hope that it helped others that have been in the same kind of a situation. You know, there is things that I want to talk about that I need to get off my chest, and I want to talk to the world about it, because I want to be purposeful when I want to talk to the world about it, because I want to be purposeful because it's still happening to me, the nightmares, the attack, the feels it's okay. And also in my showcase, and I'll have a link to it in this video, right? So grab it up fast. It's under Wicca, Wiccan, Witch, Pagan Hat. And then you can also get that